Welcome everybody to episode 117 of The China Show, formerly known as ADV Podcasts.
Yeah, probably ditch that soon, eh?
Yeah.
Everyone knows The China Show now. I heard everyone talking about it. Kids
I'm glad.
at school,
Sure.
freaking
Yeah. Choir
CNN.
boys, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we've got quite a big one for you today. We've got a lot to talk about. There's been some huge things happening as far as the Chinese economy, which is very important, and we might be seeing the start of a big downturn. In fact, there has been a big downturn in the Chinese economy, but it's been kind of hidden from most people. But right now, it's really breaking to the surface.
Yeah. With a couple of caveats.
Yeah, obviously. It's not like, oh, it's collapsing. No, we're going to talk about it from a reasonable point of view here and show you what's happening at the moment and what you can expect.
Yeah.
But before we get on to that, of course, we have a lot of stuff to talk about as far as what's new is concerned. So we're going to tell you what's new with regards to China at the moment, and there's quite a lot to go through. So what do you think we saunter right into it?
Saunter.
Okay, we will. Here we go. Let's start out with Supreme Leader Xi. What are you going to tell me about this?
You know, what's funny is actually the other day I heard, was it CNN?
I think so.
They actually called him Supreme Leader, which was hilarious. It was like a less than subtle dig.
Absolutely.
Because it's really getting to the point where we're at Kim Jong family level dictator worship here.
It's crazy.
In China,
Yeah.
Anyway, Xi Jinping just visited Xinjiang, which is the place where the genocide is happening in Western China.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, to be greeted by many happy, smiling Uyghurs. It was speculated that he got COVID or he wasn't around or whatever. People like to do this all the time.
It's good not to jump on these things. I think quite a few people were jumping on this idea that Xi Jinping has now disappeared off the scene and he's not being seen anywhere because he went to that Hong Kong celebration. We spoke about that last time, that ridiculous thing where he was actually just talking to 4 people.
Yeah.
And then he took some photos with a bunch of diplomats there, or I should say, government workers. And one of them happened to, after the meeting, test positive a few days later for COVID-19. So, of course, there was mass panic, a lot of speculation as to what's going on with dictator for life, supreme leader, Xi Baozi, because he was not showing up anywhere. So people are like, oh, what's going on? Is he maybe quarantined? Is he, all this nonsense. But of course, we didn't jump on that because, as usual, it's just a bunch of bunk and speculation.
Typical.
Turns out he shows up in Xinjiang now to wave at a bunch of people. Now, here's something I find very interesting. Why is he now surrounded by a whole bunch of people? Whereas in Hong Kong, he didn't allow anyone near him.
What? I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that Xinjiang is the most locked down, hardcore, surveilled police state in the entire world.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has anything to do with that.
Probably does.
Yeah.
And all these people that he's waving at have obviously been
vetted, checked, searched.
And probably quarantined in a quarantine facility for 2 weeks or something.
Some fresh Uyghurs they've released.
Prior to his arrival to make sure that not one of them is possibly carrying the COVID-19.
Well, they got very convenient places to quarantine. They're called concentration camps.
Sure.
Anyway, so he was shown a huge slap in the face to anyone following the Uyghur genocide. Imagine Hitler walking around the Nazi concentration camps. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of modern day.
Absolutely, and they have to wave at him and
yay, we love you.
You know what's awful. Strange is I'm not seeing many, if any, men in that crowd.
Yeah, there's a couple in the back there on the right.
None of them have beards, of course, because that's not allowed anymore.
Nope.
I'm also not seeing proper Uyghur Muslim attire. They've got those
their
fake
costumes.
the costumes, the dancing costumes on, but
because that's what they're supposed to look like to the Han Chinese.
Where are the men should be wearing those hats, and it should be whatever. Yeah, we know the deal. Let's move on. So that's where Xi Jinping's been. Recently.
I just wanted to say this is the what you'll see around Xinjiang. These guard towers, very similar to what we saw in North Korea. Again, remember those guard towers we saw?
Yeah,
very similar. And I wonder if Xi Jinping managed to stop by and visit any of these people.
I doubt it. These, by the way, are from the Xinjiang police files that were leaked.
Yeah.
And this is even old data. There's been so much more going on since this.
Yeah, thousands. These are just thousands in one place.
Yeah.
In one of the facilities.
Correct.
So I wonder if he got around to saying hi to any of these people. I'm sure they'd be really happy to greet him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Very much so.
Yeah. Anyway, we all know. Whoops, sorry. We thought we'd let everybody know that Clam Man is branching out into transport.
Yeah, I can't believe.
You can see up there, Hainan.
Can't believe he managed to get out of Hainan.
Exactly.
And actually branch out to transportation.
Yeah, I just brought him up there. Why
nice.
Hainan? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Very good.
Anyway, let's move on to the next thing because there's quite a lot of things that have been happening recently. We are going to talk about this ridiculous auntie that you found. Maybe you can explain this.
So remember we talked about Laoban aesthetic? In the episode where you weren't here, I talked about the gangster aesthetic.
I remember.
One thing we haven't covered is the IE aesthetic. What is an IE? For
Well,
example?
okay, an IE is a middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
And it translates to auntie or aunt. I guess in America you'd say ant, like the little animals in the ground,
exactly.
those
Mai.
black things. Yeah, mai instead of ai. Yeah, but you will call anyone who's kind of a middle-aged woman an ai.
Yeah.
And it can be polite too, like little kids will say ai, they just mean like aunt.
Yeah.
Just to a stranger.
But we don't say that this is another caveat. There's a couple caveats here because that maybe sounds normal, but for Americans, you would never call a stranger an aunt. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's not related to, it's only related to you.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you could say, hey, brother, or something.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying for Americans, you have to understand, we're not talking about blood relatives here.
Yeah.
It's any woman that is of a certain age. I'm going to throw out 45 to 65. That's an IE.
Yeah, that's right. But, it's also used to describe a domestic worker. In other words, someone who comes to clean your house. You say, like, I hire an IE to come once a week.
Yes.
Right? And that's normal. To call
That's
it like a cleaning lady.
Like a cleaning lady.
Would be an
We're
IE.
not in America. We're talking about in China.
Yeah,
a
of
lot of Chinese families that have more money, they'll have an IE at their house,
Yeah.
which comes by once, every few days.
Yeah, and they can be nannies. They can look after the kids, do
nannies.
anything. You call it an IE. But there's a more sinister side of the IEs as well. But they've got special words like dama or hey IE or, whatever. But these are these like horrible lost generation ones that do terrible things. Like they'll steal your dog and cook it or whatever.
Right,
and they'll
kind of
be
thing.
like
Yeah.
lining up to get a free something, but they'll like stand the whole day.
Yeah.
And they'll go and take homeless people's food or something, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're like the scourge of Chinese society.
Yeah,
very,
like-
very hated in China.
Yeah, there's a certain category of IE which are just disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like, picture the Laoban though.
Yeah.
The female version of that.
Sure.
That's what we're talking about here. If you guys are around for the Laoban aesthetic, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But here, I wanted to show something fascinating that was sent to me. Now, this is the kind of stuff I would see all the time in China.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's when IEs get their hands on a phone, which they all have, but they find out how to use social media. And they start using filters. They start using like, little things in Douyin, which is Chinese TikTok. They start using things to put them in stuff. So a lot of what IEs will do is they'll find a picture of a flower and then all of a sudden their face is on the flower.
Sure.
They love this kind of flowery aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain, so I just want to show you this woman who I think nailed it in all these videos.
All right, so I'll take us out of there. We'll play a couple of these and we can see.
So you have her fake singing in kind of a mirror, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a communist PLA guy walking around in the forest.
This beanstalk thing.
This is special effects humorous funny video, which if you pause that there, which I find fascinating. This IE is special because she managed to escape Douyin and then went on American TikTok to appeal to like a Western audience. And she makes sure that you know how to feel in each video. For example, in special effects humorous funny video.
Right. What about this one?
This is some classic propaganda. You'll see some propaganda thrown in there.
Right. Okay. So during epidemic, the medical worker is the best dedication. We admire them and also protect your health.
Gotta have that. Right?
Sure.
It's gotta have some nationalism in there too.
Of course.
So you have. She's.
Are we
always
gonna get hit
inserting
by
herself.
like copyright? By the way,
I don't think so. It's quite enough.
That's one thing that really annoys me about both Douyin and TikTok, or especially Douyin, is they'll use whatever music they want. They never get into trouble for it.
No.
Yeah.
No, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
You can see how she's inserted herself in everything, and that's a typical IE social media thing. They'll always be in the clips of everything. You have to be in it somehow.
By the way, like speaking of this, you can see like these tired workers or whatever. You've seen those clips where they're just filming this fake.
Yeah.
We should show that.
Yeah,
we haven't shown that. There's, this is what happens. People film with their phones, all sorts of crap, which they share on, Chinese WeChat and stuff. And there's a couple of different clips going around of film crews, like filming these healthcare workers all like, oh, I'm fainting, I've been working so hard. But meanwhile, there's just a film crew and they're acting this out. Like in order to show like, oh, woman, we're
suffering so much.
Yeah, we're suffering so much. It's all part of propaganda, but it's kind of funny to see it when they're pretending to like, they're pretending to suffer.
Yeah.
Remember that?
And definitely people that are.
Yeah, of course there are. But remember that like flood one where the eyes were like lying on the riverbank? So they're like,
oh, the flood. They heard that the people were sending donations to China because the horrible flooding, which was happening.
Yeah. This is the kind of terrible IE.
Yeah, this is terrible. The IEs found out about this. They're like, oh, Westerners or whatever country people, Japanese people, whatever, they're sending donations.
Money,
to the people caught in the flood. So these people 1,000 miles away from the flooding were going to a riverbanks and go like, oh, help,
getting all muddy and stuff. And then if you pan out, you see there's like 20 of them all lined in a row, like rolling around in the mud, like, oh, the floods. Oh, man, that was so ridiculous.
I'm getting those vibes.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, let's see what happens next.
This is special effects video synthesis. Hope you like it.
Okay.
This is her, which, she's coming in with all this wealth, with all this money. They love money. This is harmonious coexistence of man and nature dancing with pet dogs.
Okay.
Just know what it is.
She's put a picture of her face on like a belly dancer.
And she calls that special effects synthesis. This is her thing.
All right.
Can you pause it there? Can you tell me what is that military outfit? Because it says multinational. I wanted to not run this by you. Right. I wanted you to do this live. Multinational cultural characteristics video synthesis. So she's walking around with a soldier.
Looks like a Soviet.
Yeah, I guess that's Soviet. But look at it's almost got I suppose that could be Soviet.
Yeah.
Is it?
It looks Soviet to me.
Yeah. Someone in the chat, tell me.
It's hard to tell. It could also just be, Communist Party like dress uniform or something.
My favorite thing about this is they're walking in the ocean like Jesus.
Yes, yeah. And she's wearing a chi pao.
Yeah.
This is obviously from one of those 1930s movies about like war of the resistance.
But she's cropped it out and then put it on the ocean.
Yeah, she doesn't crop it very well though.
No. This is one of my favorites.
Okay, what's this?
You don't see her yet, right?
Yeah.
So I was scrolling through her account and I'm like, why is this video the only one where she's not in it?
There's something else that I also need to ask you is why does it look like that guy has pissed his pants?
There's a couple things going on here.
Okay.
That whole panel in the back is not real. Like that's from something else.
Oh yeah, you can see. Look at their feet.
Yes.
Look at their feet. It's
floating man vibes.
Yeah.
So what happened is this. Let me paint a picture.
Okay.
Here. This is the first video I saw. I was like, "Where's Ai?
Yeah.
Like this is bullshit. Where is she?"
Yeah. Where is she?
So the first thing I noticed is that she's not in here, so it grabs my attention. Then I noticed that what they've done is this woman, whatever she's doing with this bottle, she doesn't have an audience.
Yeah.
So they've already superimposed a fake audience in there.
Yes.
Then I noticed one of the guys in the fake audience that they've superimposed a still image of is piss his pants.
Yeah, yeah.
He's actually just piss his pants.
It's like, that's the first thing I noticed, like what's going on here?
You know when when you don't get all the drips out, you get a couple drips.
Sure.
Or if you wipe your hands on your pants because there's no towel.
Sure.
Right? You're in a public restroom. That guy just pisses.
Yeah, he just pissed his pants. There's nothing. Yeah, it's horrible. Anyway, let's see what this video is. Let's go.
She's not in here. I was disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Turns out she was in there all along.
What is she, the genie of the beer bottle?
This is, there is a lot of narcissism in IE. In a Lost Generation IEs for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird, eh?
I don't know why. We'll get into a phenomenon, actually, if you mind that we get off topic for a second.
Sure.
Have you ever noticed we're talking about this before, you ever noticed in China, a certain type of people will have their own picture as their wallpaper on their phone?
Yeah, yeah.
I found that so bizarre. And I actually got into weird discussions with people about that. And the best I got out of anyone was, it's my phone, so I'm going to have me on it.
Well, the first time I encountered it was probably about 2006. So it was right in the early days I was in China, right? And when I was working for a kindergarten, you get, as you know, something called a teaching assistant. And so a teaching assistant is usually a young woman who is your teaching assistant. Because she can either speak English to help you or whatever, but she helps with a lot of the stuff. Like, you don't want to be wiping the snot noses and stuff of the kids, so they kind of help with that, and they also keep the kids in line while you get your stuff, whatever the case may be.
In ideal situations.
In ideal situations, but when I was teaching kindergarten full time, so I was in that class the whole day, right? And during the nap times and everything, they help get the kids ready, and you prepare your lesson, and while you're doing that, they get the kids all ordered up and stuff, and they play piano or whatever. They do stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
and she had a keyring, okay? Because look, this is before smartphones.
Yeah.
You know, the iPhone hadn't even been released
Sure.
yet. So she had a keyring, and it had this like very glamorous picture of this very beautiful girl with like a sword, you know, and like angel wings.
Wow.
And I'm like, what on
You
earth?
sure that's not a Chinese mobile game?
Yeah.
Slicing pigs open
Yeah,
and getting
exactly.
gold?
Yeah. So it's like, what is this? I asked her, and she's like, oh no, that's me.
Right.
And then she pulled out, she had like a photo album, you know, like fully printed out. And it had all these random pictures of her, but like
her?
that you couldn't recognize it's her though, because it's been so doctored. And like this is early days, so it was very bad
It's like
Photoshop.
it's kind of like this IE.
Yeah, and it's like, think about the 80s glamour pictures that people used to take in the mall.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
It's like all glossed over. It's like got a glow on it,
I know
you know?
exactly what. Yeah, it's that like romantic glow.
And then like the paper itself's got like a texture to it, you know, and you turn it. But all these random pictures of her like pretending to be a Roman goddess or whatever, like all this
like mermaids,
random ass crap everywhere. But she kept that in the classroom for some reason, I don't know why, and she had a keyring of one of those pictures on her keys, and I was like, this is bizarre. Like narcissism reaches a certain level, right? But this is next step. You love the image of yourself so much that you put it on your keyring, and then later, like you said, people started to put it as wallpapers on their phones.
And it's always those doctored photos.
Yeah, and even more, I mean, when you visit people's houses...
Can I say something?
Yeah, go
I had
for it.
family members,
Yeah.
and I won't specify who, but I go in,
Yeah.
and they'd give me a tour of the house or whatever, and I'd see inside their room, and there'd be a massive picture of themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking... This is a married person with kids, right? I'm not talking about a picture of their kid. I'm not talking about a picture of their wife. I'm not talking about a picture of them with their wife.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a picture of themselves, huge,
Yeah.
on their own wall in their
Yes.
bedroom.
Yes.
And I'm like, what's going on here? You ask a question, they're like, well, it's my room, so it's my picture.
Sure.
And it's just this weird cultural phenomenon that you can't I just still can't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, you go visit a girl's room or their house, and you'll see a picture that they have of themselves.
Without other people.
Yeah, just themselves on the wall. And it can be in the living room, it can be in the bedroom, doesn't matter. But
The bedroom's the weirdest because it's their own room.
yeah, you got a picture of yourself.
Yeah.
Because I get it. People have family photos.
Yes.
I got family photos up on the wall.
all over the place. Yeah.
Of me and my kid and my wife.
Makes sense, right?
Or just my kid and my wife or whatever. But not a picture of me like trying to look all handsome with like...
You had one picture of yourself in your room, like a big one.
Yeah.
Just you.
Yeah. It's a weird
You know what
phenomenon.
the weirdest was? Is that when you go to someone that's single, like let's say you're dating a girl, and she has a picture of herself, and it's only her living in there.
Yeah.
It's just a big
That's what I was
picture.
talking about. Yeah, you get that.
Yeah. And grown men.
Yeah, of course.
Like I would see men with like very doctored, like angelic photos of themselves on their own wallpaper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like a girl, it's almost like, okay, maybe it's a girl mentality I just can't understand, right? You try to use that perspective. Yeah. But with the boy, like the male's like a real masculine playing basketball dude, and he's got this like flowery photo with like huge filters on it as his own wallpaper.
Yes, on his own phone.
It's very interesting.
It is. It's
kind of like
just
this.
Completely different kind of phenomenon.
It is.
That's all it is.
But anyway,
let's get back to Ai over here. So what's going on with her?
She put herself, clearly she pines for her youth.
Right.
So she wants to be on these beautiful, like, dancing. This is IE vibe, though, this type of dance.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Guangzhong Wu, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
What is this? Okay.
I'm trying to figure this out. So there's a dog.
Is that the Hong Kong skyline?
I think it is.
Okay.
That's a dog on a rowboat, and there's two of her dancing.
One on each rowboat.
Right.
And that's something else, which we got to get into right now. Okay. All right, guys. So let
me cap it off.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Cap
the
it
IE
off.
aesthetic.
Right.
The IE aesthetic is a real thing. It's definitely worth looking into. I get horrifying images of when I've seen family members put themselves into things that I didn't want them. Nothing weird, nothing bad. Just like things like this. But when it's someone you know,
yes,
and they're trying to be all pretty and like pop out of a flower, and it's like their face, and you're like, oh,
like
my
if it's
Lord.
your mother-in-law
yeah,
or something.
And you're like,
it's
dude, I've seen that.
It's
like
cringe.
Like a freaking mother-in-law pops out of like a lotus flower, and it's like,
dude, you know what's really weird is I know my mother-in-law bought a new Huawei phone, but it's like you get phones that are kind of like, like they're for that age group.
Yeah.
You get like that age
like
group
an
phone.
Laoban phone.
Yeah. I mean, you get something in China, it's called like Laorenji, which is like an old person phone.
Yeah.
And they usually,
Huge
what
buttons.
is this huge freaking hair? Weird, that's weird. Anyway, sorry.
Getting old and wise.
Yeah. Anyway, like you get this thing, it's called Laorenji, which is like a huge phone, like with big numbers and stuff. And you get those Lauren like red TV, it's like a little TV thing or a radio. I've actually got one at home. I'm going to bring it in.
Yeah, do it.
But they obviously all in their little IE groups, they tell each other which phones to buy, and you get like specific phones that the IEs like to buy.
Yeah.
So she got this brand new phone that she bought at the market, and so she's sending photos to my wife, and they look terrible, like as if they're all underwater. Okay, because it's got built in these weird filters.
Dude, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Those also will put like all of the information all over the photos. That kind, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you take a photo, it tells you the brand of the phone, like Huawei
like,
Mate something.
Which permissions would you like to grant? And it's like, yes.
Yeah, I know. It tells the location with even with like
GPS coordinates. It really does. Yeah.
It tells you everything. Yeah. It's terrible. Anyway, she takes these photos and we're like, are you sure that's a new phone? You didn't get ripped off and get someone's secondhand broken scratched lens thing. But like if they take photos of themselves, it like does all these beauty weird things, and that's why they get it. But it's
what's
weird.
Crazy is that I met this one guy.
Yeah.
He went. This is like early. I'm not gonna say early smartphones, but it was like kind of like when those Meitu things are starting to pop off.
Meitu,
right?
Yeah.
When this guy had this Chinese friend, he went to go. He wasn't the kind of guy that wanted to just like meet people through Guanxi like connections and stuff. He actually wanted to go on like dating apps and find girls and stuff. So he would do that. He was a handsome dude.
Right.
So I remember we were hanging out, had a couple beers, and then he went out to go meet this girl that he met on an app.
Right.
And he comes back. I was at the same restaurant hanging out with my other friends, and he came back within like 45 minutes or something. And he's like, dude, what the hell was that? And he shows me the girl, and I was like, wow, she's pretty hot, right?
Yeah.
It was so doctored to the point where like it was not the same person.
Of course.
And he went there, and she was like apparently like enormous.
Yeah.
And she, not only was she enormous, which is whatever, maybe he was into heavier girls, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't. But
okay.
She brought like 12 friends and then wanted him to like pay for everything. So he literally walked in, saw it was her. He's like, is that really you? And she's like, yeah. And then he walked out and came back.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
That's crazy.
It's unfortunate because this whole online beauty filter thing that happens in China, we have that in the West, Instagram filters, all these face filters. Yeah, it's bad, but it's way worse in China because
it's like default.
And it's by default, the person that you're looking at is not going to be anything like the person you meet in real life.
No, and it's gotten to the point where it's weird if you didn't use filters.
Yes.
It would be, does that make sense? Like, it's not like, no one's going to be surprised anymore. No. Now it's like, if you didn't use filters and you just look like you do, that's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, why would you do that?
Yeah. It's strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got to get into something serious here. Now, listen, China has a massive issue. I've spoken about it in the past. There's this awful thing that happens in China. It's got to do with mass stabbings. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, since Shanghai has kind of stopped lockdown. Now, I'm not going to say stop lockdown because so many people are back in lockdown already. But since it opened up a little bit, there have been a slew of mass stabbings.
Yeah.
Like 10 or more of them.
Yeah.
Okay? Just all of a sudden.
You know how we got some of that information? Leaked hospital data.
Yeah.
Because they actually completely censored all of this information.
Of course they did. Anyway, so let's take, obviously...
Dear YouTube
censors, we've
we're not
censored
showing
it. We're not showing anything. Okay, please just bugger off and don't demonetize us. But yeah, we've got situations where... do you have some of the actual stats?
Oh, yeah, there's tons. Yeah. There was I think 20 instances, but 10 were considered mass. Could be considered.
Yeah, where 10 people were stabbed. There was a pediatrics ward where somebody stabbed a whole bunch of people, including children.
Woman here got beheaded.
Yeah, someone beheaded their wife.
I mean, this is like this is like ISIS, dude.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this came out, and the thing that's infuriating is this happened, right? We're not showing anything.
No, we're not showing it. Censored. YouTube censorship. Don't worry, we're not showing anything. Well, hopefully we're not showing anything.
No, don't worry. There's nothing graphic in here. It's all completely blurred or censored or whatever.
Okay,
right?
There we go. Yeah.
So you're not gonna see anything. We're still gonna get demonetized, guys.
Yeah. Well,
this is as I was doing it, I was like, I'm not gonna show anything. There's gonna be no audio or anything. But I'm just watching now, and I'm like, YouTube is such dicks.
Sure. Well, anyway, we got to get on with this.
Anyway.
It's a serious topic.
Yes. So,
Do you know what really bugs me the most about these stabbings, these mass stabbings, is that people just stand around and watch.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I included some of that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, this happened a lot
Yeah.
post, lockdown.
Yeah.
You could say it's mental health issues. Mass stabbing problems are a huge problem in China anyway.
Yeah.
And this has really had an uptick of this. And the problem is that how quickly the government rushed to make sure none of these got out.
Yeah.
Which people were there and people filmed it.
Yeah.
People took pictures. People knew or were family members of the victims, and they were getting freaking pissed
Well,
off.
it's because the government says these are just rumors. It didn't happen.
Yeah, so I put that in there. So the government comes out and they scrub everything. Everyone has to use code words. They got leaked information from, I'm not going to say leaked, it was posted by hospitals.
Yeah.
As they usually do, posting stats.
Look at these looky-loos just staring
That's
at
my
dead
problem.
people. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen that in China,
Yeah.
right? Somebody will be dead on the road.
Yeah.
Like brains out, got hit by a car, and
Yeah,
everyone's
stare.
just standing there like pointing, laughing.
This particular one was kind of bizarre, this little kid.
Yeah.
So this little kid
He
turns
didn't,
up.
he didn't actually pull it
No,
off.
don't worry. Nobody got stabbed in this situation. But this little kid arrives in a hoverboard and wanted to stab the testing staff. He's got a knife. You can see it. Well, it's blanked out over there, but he's had a knife. And he's coming to try and stab the staff. And they wrestled it away from him.
Yeah.
And you could see it's like Shisui. So it's like
He's
a 10-year-old.
10-year-old, yeah.
A 10-year-old, okay? What you're seeing in his hand there, by the way, is not a knife. That's a
No,
phone.
that's his other hand.
Yeah, the knife's already been taken away, YouTube censors. But if you listen to what he's saying, okay, give me a second here. So what is he saying?
He says, I need to kill him. I need to
Yeah,
kill
well,
him.
Bishu Dasata.
Bishu
Well,
Shasata.
Shasata, sorry, not. I guess if you say Das, it also means like beat him to death. But this is like, I need to kill him.
That's great.
Wow.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But okay. Mental health is a huge issue in China.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the thing is, whenever there is a mass stabbing, which happens all the time in China, don't fool yourself, okay? It's been documented tons of times. And, I used to train doctors, and I've got a lot of doctor friends, and the majority of these stabbings you don't hear about, okay?
No.
People get stabbed a lot in China. It probably happens every day all over the place, but you don't hear about it. When they get these big mass stabbings that happen, sometimes it's difficult for them to cover it up.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's so public. It's a public spectacle a lot of the times, right? But every single time there is a stabbing, it's always blamed on mental health. They're like, oh, I just had mental health problems.
But it's not dealt with.
No, it's not dealt with. But, the fact of the matter is, in most cases, it's probably true.
Yeah, but there's no recourse for that.
Mental health is not taken seriously in China.
Not at all.
There are no mental health
It's almost a joke.
hospitals. There's nothing there to take care
It's
of.
like, oh, you weakling. Yeah.
Family has to take care of mentally disturbed people.
Yeah.
And one of my wife's jobs as a doctor in China was to take care of all the mentally unstable people in her area, in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the way they take care of it is she had a list of phone numbers that she'd have to phone once a month or so. And she'd call them up and be like, are they taking their medication? And the people on the other side would be like, yep. Or they'll be like, no, he doesn't want to. And that's it. Now, if there was a problem, like if the family member said, like, look, they're going crazy and they're doing crazy stuff, she would then have to phone a local police guy who's in charge of that to tell him that the person's getting out of hand. But the whole point of the system is that there is no help for these people. All it is it's the family's problem. Family has to look after them. The family has to give them their medication. And it's got nothing to do with the government. There's no, like I said, there's no facilities to help with mental health.
Yeah.
You get insane asylums around the world. You get mental health facilities around the world, depending on which country you're in. It's either bad or it's good. But in China, there are none.
Right.
And it leads to these kind of situations because it's very apathetic. Like the family members, she would tell me that the family members would very often not want to answer the phone, not want to talk to her when they see that she calls. They'd like tell her to get lost.
Yeah.
Mind your own business. And her job's like, hey, I just need to find out if they're okay. But that's as far as it goes. A doctor calls a family member who's responsible for the mental health patient just to make sure they haven't done anything crazy every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's awful. So when it comes to mental health issues, they're never addressed in China. And that's why you get so many of these ridiculous outbreaks where they'll go and stab a bunch of kids or do whatever,
Yeah.
And I mean, look, this whole lockdown in Shanghai obviously exacerbated a lot of this.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, what would drive a 10-year-old kid to want to go and kill Dabai, as they call them, the testing guys in the hazmat suits, right? Well, I mean, the guy's probably just reached breaking point that he has to go get tested every day.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So this is a serious thing. And here you can see a list. Maybe you can explain what's going on with this list.
They had to use like code language because it kept getting censored. So this is from like the hospital staff. And they were talking about like how many people and what types of people, like was it male or female was stabbed, how many were killed and what dates it happened. And they had to do it, change their words and use letters and all kinds of acronyms and stuff because they had to make sure that it wasn't getting scrubbed. But even like the most basic stuff was getting scrubbed. Yeah. And the follow-up to this was, keep going.
Because it says like, for instance, they're like K. Liurens, in other words, killed 6 people, killed 10, plus minus 10 people there. Okay. Yeah, let's see. What's the follow-up to this is...
or knifed,
Yeah, knifed. Could be knifed,
Anyway,
no,
sorry, I didn't have that in there. So there was an article that came out, and this one was allowed to proliferate. And that's when you have to be skeptical. If there's any news that's coming out about these stabbings in China... that's allowed to proliferate, then you have to take it with a massive grain of salt. In this case, you have to just throw it out the window because what it was that, did you hear about these crazy like things going around on the internet? These were all rumors. None of these stabbings actually happened.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine like if you're the family of the victims or you were there and you're like, what is this bizarro world I'm living in?
They claim it's false and it's rumors, like the actual news that comes out. But the thing is, when you see the footage of people, because, look, unfortunately, that's one thing that does happen in China, which is very terrible, is you get to see a lot of people die.
Yeah.
Okay? And just in WeChat. It gets shared around. People are callous to this. They don't really, it doesn't have the same impact as it does.
Oh, I see. The K is above it. It says Congress means chop.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, I mean, when you open up your WeChat, you often get shared. You'll see people jumping off buildings or you'll see like people getting hit by cars or whatever. People share this stuff around. Okay. And when there's like a stabbing, people share it around. They're like, oh, look, there was a stabbing. And they'll share it uncensored. You get to see people being knifed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've seen it with your own eyes and the government comes out and says, nah, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, it did happen.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that. No. But just to let you know that the mass stabbings are real and they've been happening.
I think I've seen a little bit in the chat. It's interesting. It's like people say, oh, it's kind of like mass shootings and stuff in America. Yeah. I mean, definitely they're awful losses of life. The problem is that they're in America, that it's not covered up.
No. In fact, it's
all
hyper focused on. In fact, the Chinese government hyper focuses on the mass shootings in America.
Yes.
They use that as an example to show how bad America is.
And then they wipe these away. Yeah. Nobody can talk about it, and it's just kind of offensive.
So that's the thing. There can be comparisons if you're talking about mental health, and if you want to talk about that, but you cannot compare the way the two countries deal with these things.
No.
Okay.
No.
As awful and tragic as it is, the mass shootings lead people like my wife and other Chinese people that I know to think that America is like the most dangerous place in the world. Yeah. Because you hear about it in the news in America, it's tragic and it's awful, but it gets amplified by the Chinese press so much that it makes the average Chinese person in China and living abroad, because they get all their news from WeChat and stuff, believe that America is so dangerous that you're just going to get shot everywhere.
Remember they made that propaganda piece where they used me and my wife, and they said my wife is too scared to go out, and like she wants to run back to China and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. It's nonsense.
Like, what the...
And I mean, it's honestly, it was my parents-in-law, when they came to visit, it changed their mind. And they later on told me and my wife that if they hadn't visited to actually come and stayed with us for like 3 months, if they hadn't stayed in America for 3 months, they wouldn't have believed that it can be like that safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they were so worried before they'd come that like, oh no, the granddaughter's going to get murdered by a random gunman or whatever, because that's in your mind. The thing is, that's how well this whole system they have of censorship in China works. Because imagine if you got proper news every day, you were reading about these stabbings that were happening around China. You would also think that, oh no, my grandchild might get stabbed
for sure.
in kindergarten or something. Because when you know what's actually going on, it really shatters this illusion of safety.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Oh, yeah. China can be a very wild, wild place.
Anyway, before we move on, we have to talk about, we did cover this last week, the whole assassination of Shinzo Abe, the terrible event that happened. And we spoke about how China reacted to it. Yeah. And they've just been doubling down. Okay? Oh, we didn't put in the nightclub footage.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I mean, I put it on my Twitter, but basically, directly after our episode finished, footage came out of them putting, pictures of Shinzo Abe's, basically like death picture and coffin and stuff on the projector in nightclubs, and people were dancing to it and celebrating, which is absolutely disgusting. But if you take a look at, I'll get us out of here quickly. If you take a look at the juxtaposition here, what does the Global Times have to say here?
Global Times, Chinese state media, they say, #opinion. They love using hashtags for no reason, by the way.
Yeah, so do tankies.
Oh, interesting.
And shills.
It's like a dog whistle.
Yeah.
They just fill it up.
They just love hashtags. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Chinese society's mixed and complicated reaction towards the assassination of Abe is normal and real. What does that mean? Let's break that down for a second. What does normal and real mean?
Yeah.
It's not fake?
Yeah.
Did people claim that?
There's also, I mean, sure. There's something even more.
No, I know it's coming, but I just want to point out when the Chinese state is usually very on the nose. It's like they're reacting to something that's not there. Like it's like they're insinuating that Chinese society doesn't have a mixed and complicated attitude towards this. But then it continues. It says Chinese people are not sophisticated in general, and they dare to express explicitly their love and hate.
So.
What?
If anybody anywhere in the world were to put out a piece in the newspaper to say Chinese people are not sophisticated in general, wouldn't that be just like the most racist thing?
Yes.
Wouldn't you get the Chinese government would jump on that?
Oh my God.
They'd be like, how dare they call the Chinese people not sophisticated, in general. That's basically saying the Chinese people are dumb, is what's being said.
Chinese state media
is saying that. They're not. They
can't figure it out.
Smart enough to know how to react.
Right.
They're
basically saying Chinese people are not like switched on enough. To show that whether they liked or hated this event, this assassination.
What is the opposite of sophisticated?
I don't know. Uncultured. Simple. Yeah, simple. Too simple.
So basically,
sometimes naive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what are you saying, Global Times? Are you saying that Chinese people are simple? Too simple to be able to react in any way other than disgusting hatred that you've indoctrinated?
Well, they're actually saying they're not sophisticated enough to even show hatred.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Well, to express explicitly their love and hate.
Yeah.
They dare. No, they do dare. They dare to
not
express.
Sophisticated in general, and they dare. I see now. This is so poorly worded.
It's very bad. So they're so simple that they don't know how to react other than to just express and explicitly express your love and hate.
Yes.
Okay, because you're not sophisticated enough
That's a very confusing sentence.
To figure things out. You wouldn't be able to. There would be no nuance.
I'm not sophisticated enough to understand that sentence.
Yeah. Anyway, it's ridiculous, but we have to show you what's happening next to it. Okay.
I thought it was good juxtaposition.
Yeah. Look at this. So take a look. Right next to it, we have a video of at a wedding. Okay, and someone's making a speech. Okay, for those of you who are listening, he's raising up a beer and he's saying, I toast to the hero who shot Abe. Yeah, cheers, This bottle of wine, well, it's not. It's like this. This
alcohol.
This alcohol, each of our sons and daughters, every Chinese. Applause and cheers. Witness the history, right? Agree? And people are clapping.
For the assassination.
Yeah, it's like, you F China, China F's you to death. I got to ask you something here, okay? What does that imply? Does that imply that China murdered Abe?
I mean, that's it's almost like it's spiraled out of control. The celebration of the assassination of Abe has spiraled so far out of control from what I've seen on social media that I think people are now claiming ownership of it.
Yeah, they're claiming it's like China
Like, we
fought
set
back.
this up.
We are the
Yeah.
ones who assassinated him.
It's kind of like when you proclaim yourself as the victor of the Japanese invasion, right?
Yeah.
Mao Zedong's troops, the PLA, are the only reason that Japan left China.
Yeah.
And that fantasy is 100% false.
Yes.
It's completely not true at all.
Yeah.
It might have had something to do with bombing Japan.
Sure.
And also pushing back troops that the KMT did, the nationalist government did, while the PLA sat there and waited.
Yeah.
Anyway, reality doesn't matter because when you tell a fantasy long enough, people start to believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening. Because like if you ask the average uncle of that age, the average Laoban, they think that the PLA defeated Japan.
Yeah, they think that the
single-handedly.
Communist Party of China is who defeated Japan.
Right. So
but they
you
had
get the
nothing to
same-
do with that.
Right, and you get the same thing with this assassination.
They defeated their own people.
Of course, the killer, the assassinator, was had to do with China. He loved China so much that he assassinated Abe.
Well, I mean, here's something even more disgusting is at a comic convention in China, somebody cosplayed as the assassin.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is the greatest, I don't know, assassin of all time, basically,
Yeah.
It's like, I'm kind of speechless.
I know. Yeah.
Because, when it comes to this kind of thing, there's a certain amount of disgust you can have towards a certain type of behavior. But, like when it comes to somebody who, by the way, Abe had nothing to do with oppressing and killing China or Chinese people.
The propagandists going around acted like he was calling for the invasion of China.
Yeah. The guy was retired. Well, he was no longer self-retired politician with health problems making a speech, and he got shot cowardly from behind by an assassin. Say what you will about a person. You don't go and celebrate that kind of cowardly behavior. It's disgusting. You don't go dress up as the assassin and cosplay as him. No. You don't go
because it's societally acceptable.
Yeah. And this is the proof that it's societally acceptable, because if somebody decided to go like 3 days or 4 days after JFK was shot in the head, okay, and they go dressed as Lee Harvey Oswald or whatever, going around, they're like, yeah, kill JFK, I'm pretty sure you get beaten up.
Yeah, and you might have people some weirdos that would do that, but societally it wouldn't be okay.
It wouldn't be okay. No. That kind of behavior is deterred because it's not acceptable in society.
It's psychotic.
It is.
And that's the thing. There's a lot of problems in China that are directly attributed to the government's brainwashing that I could label as psychotic.
Yeah.
But accepted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's acceptable to celebrate assassinations. It's acceptable to celebrate the death of random Japanese people.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a tragedy in Japan, they love like an earthquake or something. People celebrate.
God did this.
Yes,
revenge.
It's not okay. And this very disturbing form of nationalism that the Communist Party of China has bred into the populace in China is rearing its ugly head, and they're not stopping it.
Yeah.
Because the Chinese government can stop anything at once.
Yeah.
They could put out a notice to say, you cannot do this, okay? And they did that. I saw them do that before, because when the Senkaku Island, the whole Diaoyudao Island thing happened, I went out to go and film, because they were smashing Japanese cars, and so I went out to go film some of the shops. And they had taken some of the bigger shops like Jusco, which is like a Japanese
I used to go there all the time,
and they actually put guards, like police riot guys, outside of those places. And they were like, no, you're not allowed to. And people didn't attack those. And they put out an SMS, like a short message, what an SMS, a text, right? They put out a blanket text, which China can do, by the way.
They do all the time.
Whether your phone has a SIM card in it
Doesn't
or
matter.
not, it comes to your phone, okay? And they just sent it to everyone. And it said, and it was, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, it's good to be nationalist, but we have to obey the laws now, so you're not allowed to break things anymore.
I remember that.
And then immediately it stopped.
Yeah, immediately, because they shut it down.
Yeah, because now there's going to be legal ramifications. But before that, there weren't.
You know why? Because only it was to bolster nationalism, take the attention away from everything that was happening internally in the CCP.
Yeah, the Bolshevik,
Yeah, there was a huge scandal that was going on within the Chinese government. And it was by necessity to get people's attention off of that scandal and to put it against Japan. They can turn it on whenever they want, but when they turn it on too much, the heat goes too high, and then Chinese people start attacking other Chinese businesses. Yes. And that's where they're like, okay, I'll backpedal. Because it turns out that sushi shop is actually Chinese owned and run.
Yeah, and
it turns out that entire factory, all the profit is going to Chinese factory workers.
Yeah.
Right? So all of this, it's nonsense nationalism comes to a head. But I remember during that exact time, I was walking around one of those kind of bulk stores where they have like people can set up their own stalls. And like at that time, everyone had a big burning Japanese flag that they printed out on A4 paper or whatever. And it said like no Japanese allowed in Japanese and in Chinese. Yeah. And I actually filmed that. And I was walking around and I was like, what's going on? Because you would never see that in most countries.
They're like no Japanese or dogs allowed and stuff. I remember that very clearly.
Hunan restaurants.
Yeah. And it's like, well, there are not any Japanese here anyway that want to go to your shitty little restaurant, to be honest, like in this area. So what are you doing? Shop. Yeah, what are you doing? Is someone going to fly from Japan to come here?
No, and they do it for advertising too. It's not even, if I went into that shop and I said, do you really hate Japan and blah, 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 they wouldn't have any massively strong feelings about it. They do it to attract people. You get some nationalist people that are walking in there and they're like, oh, yeah, I hate Japan.
A lot of businesses combated this by putting up Chinese flags over their banners or pictures of Mao Zedong or something.
Remember that Japanese restaurant we always used to go to?
Yeah.
Everyone that works there is Chinese. We're really good friends with everyone in there. But they catered to the Japanese clientele that owns the factories and stuff.
Yeah, nearby,
We're closer with the Chinese staff than anyone from Japan in there. But what they did to survive was to put up Chinese flags all over the front. Yeah. So that people don't firebomb it.
If you put like a poster of Xi Jinping or Mao Zedong on your business, it won't get touched.
It won't get touched. People are, it's illegal
They're too afraid. They're too
screwed.
afraid. Yeah. It's such a ridiculous thing.
Crazy, right?
And now you see kind of how ugly this can get, this ridiculous nationalism, to the point where they're celebrating the death and the cowardly assassination of a political figure in nightclubs, at weddings. They're cosplaying as the assassin.
It's a cool thing to do right now.
It's like, there's no hiding it. China can't say, a few small bad eggs.
That's what I was going to say about the Global Times things. It's funny as they're self-owning ridiculous language that they use, which is belittling their own people, which don't deserve that, by the way, just to placate like Westerners. That aside, like their feeble attempt at trying to say that this is it's just a few people. That's what they're trying to say.
It's ridiculous.
It's a varied opinion everywhere.
It's not. It's the majority of the opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, before we move on to our next segment, guys, we have something from our sponsors. So how about we hit this?
It's an entire hornet. That's huge. You really don't want to eat this. Burst like a pustule. Like you're popping a zit in the mirror.
Right. So, we are all about staying healthy here, which is obviously very apparent by the fantastic shape that we're in right now. I can tell you one thing, though. There are better ways to stay healthy than eating fried hornets.
Yes. That's a good finesse, a good segue. Yeah, there are many better ways, including our sponsor, Athletic Greens.
Yeah.
Our next partner, Athletic Greens. Well, our only partner, actually, today. We usually only have one ad if we're lucky. And that means that a company is good. And if they support us and our message, that means they stand up for the right thing. So keep that in mind when you support our sponsors. But I use Athletic Greens, and there's a reason. I don't want to take handfuls of vitamins every day. You know me with my vitamins. Yeah. Always try to stay nutritionally on top of things.
He's got a pocket full of pills.
I do, but not that
gathers
kind.
around the family with a pocket full of pills.
Not that kind. I got vitamins, I got the odd headache.
You got everything. Like when we go on our road trips, I'm like, what do you got? Yes. And he's like, got caffeine pills. He's got
because he couldn't get coffee.
Cough medicine, whatever. He's got it all in his one pocket. I don't know how, but it always comes out furry and gross.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back on track.
Sure.
So what is this stuff? With every scoop of AG1, that's the product that Athletic Greens sells, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start the day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. all of the things. And I will say, it definitely makes me feel better. And it's much better than eating like Lucky Charms or like Fruity Pebbles in the morning. I'll tell you that.
Sure. Yeah.
It's also keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. It doesn't matter what dietary restriction you have.
Okay.
You mix it together. It tastes kind of tropical, fruity. It's a little drink. You just put the powder in the water and you mix it together.
Yep.
Contains less than 1 gram of sugar and only high quality ingredients.
Yep.
Why are you laughing? Chill
Well,
out.
No, I'm good. It's just like, yeah, it's fruity, kind of like you.
Thanks, appreciate that. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/ADV. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/ADV to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for that. By the way, again, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors because it is difficult for us to get sponsors.
Yes.
And, we do our due diligence and it's good to have something to help with your health.
Yes.
Especially if you get caught up in the rat race, kind of like we are. Yeah. So, makes it easier. We're going to get back to things now, guys. We're going to move into our main segment. The reason you clicked on this, which of course is the entire economy issue. So let's move right into that with our soft power hour, where we talk about how China changes your mind and the mind of others through many different ways and means. This time around, we're going to have to give you a little bit of backstory on how Chinese real estate works. I've spoken about this a lot. So I did this thing about ghost cities. So we're not going to go too much into that. What we're going to talk about is the house buying process. Behind us, what you see here is some footage that we shot. We shot this together in Huizhou, not very far away from your house.
No, probably 20 minutes.
You can see all those kind of brown buildings in the background there are empty, okay? Those are recently completed apartments, okay? And they're investment apartments. Now, the reason why this particular area is so special is because it's about an hour's drive out of Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Shenzhen has the highest price in China when it comes to real estate per square meter or square foot or whatever you call it. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's more expensive than buying like a beachfront property in I don't know, LA or something, right? I'm pretty sure. Look it up. I feel like it is.
Depends. I know.
If you buy downtown,
a condo.
If you buy downtown Shenzhen, like in, I don't know, Futian district or something, it's ridiculous.
Right. It's very expensive.
It's more expensive than Hong Kong.
Yeah. Which is dumb.
Yeah.
Because Hong Kong is about the same as America for per person GDP, and Shenzhen is dirt poor in comparison. As rich as you might think it is, Shenzhen is almost third world if you look at actual stats.
Yeah, actual statistics. Yeah. Anyway, the fact of the matter is nobody can afford to buy in Shenzhen anymore. So when people want to speculate, because remember, they don't buy these houses to live in. They still work and live in Shenzhen. So they rent or whatever the case in Shenzhen. Very few people are willing to do an hour and something commute back and forth each day.
Yes.
But for speculation, in order to invest, they'll buy these properties that are fairly close by. Okay. So Huizhou, as you know, was kind of a good idea because it's fairly easy to get there from Shenzhen, and also talks of the high-speed rails opening and all that would possibly make a commute possible in the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
So this is one of many cities where you saw a huge explosion in these empty apartments, these so-called ghost cities. But I don't want you to pay attention to that finished bunch over there. What I want you to pay attention to is, first of all, that lake, which is not a lake. See, that's not a lake. It's just waterlogged ground.
Yes.
Behind it is a river.
Yeah.
Okay? We used to hang out all the time in these areas.
Yep.
But that kind of lake is just ground that's been cleared for the next project.
That's right.
And next to it, you can see a not so waterlogged, because look, it's really humid and it rains a lot there. There's a lot of water. Another cleared lot right behind us where they're going to build a new project.
That's right.
Okay? So how it works, guys, is you go to these ridiculous sales events and they're opulent. They're crazy. Okay?
Yes.
I've been to one before. in Inner Mongolia of all places, because the construction company I was working for wanted to spy on the competition and see what they were doing.
They always do.
So you go in there, they've got like a model of what the buildings will look like when they're completed, you know? And it's normally quite cool. They got little moving cars and lights and stuff. They make it look pretty cool. Like they build these models, right? This is what it's
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like if you're into building Lego cities or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Or scales models, you'll like
There's
it.
people out there.
Yeah, you'll like it because this usually looks pretty cool.
It does.
Like they put effort into that. So you got a model, and then they have like some absolutely ridiculous like live band playing.
Yeah, white monkey jobs.
Yeah, white monkey jobs. A friend of ours used to do it and earn a
for
lot of
real
money.
estate. They give you a little tiny glass of champagne, and you have like white monkeys playing music, but they're not plugged into anything.
Yeah,
over a
he was so
track.
upset because he was a real musician.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, they used to play, but then they were like, nah, just pretend to play. And they'd put in a CD of like Celine Dion or something, and they'd have to pretend.
Rest in peace, by the way.
He didn't survive. The China ended him. Anyway, so they'd have these like singers. They'd have like very beautiful models there, handing out brochures and free food and all that kind of crap, right? So you go to these sales events, and you pick an apartment. You say, okay, I want this size apartment, et cetera, et cetera. And then you pay your deposit right then and there.
I did that myself.
Okay, yeah, you did that yourself. So you can explain again like how this all works. But you pay for the apartment, you put down your deposit, and you immediately start paying mortgage.
Yeah.
But where's your apartment?
I didn't have one.
Yeah.
So to put this in perspective, they were breaking ground. I saw a picture, not even a model, of what it would look like.
Right.
And bought it. And I paid a mortgage, and I paid, into it while it was being built.
Yes.
Not when I was inside.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, it fell apart later.
It was garbage. I mean, come on, like
everything is garbage.
Everything. I used to go up once a week, and we had an office and everything there. I remember.
Yeah.
And it was the build quality was just atrocious.
Oh yeah,
It was
and
atrocious.
that's life in China these days.
Yeah. Anyway, like take a look at this empty lot. This is what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's not even cleared yet. It's still a field or something, right?
Yeah.
But this is what you're paying for. The real estate companies, they lease this lot of land from the government, the local government.
Because you can't own land.
Yeah, and it costs the lease only lasts 70 years. Mm-hmm. And that's from the day that they start the lease.
That's right.
So let's say it takes 10 years to build.
Yeah.
You'll only have 60 years left on your actual lease of your apartment that you've now paid for. It's a ridiculous situation. Anyway, I want you to pay attention. There's another big lot over there that's been earmarked for more business, and they're doing some land reclamation in the distance there so that they can build more of these quick and cheap, easy things, because it's a huge economic engine.
Yeah.
They get the people, you see, people have already put the money down. So they can take people's money and just like cut corners and throw up some cheap building, and at the same time just start another one to get even more people's money. So it's almost like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
They just the money keeps coming in for nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing there yet.
Free?
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, if you take a look, those are some more completed buildings that are empty.
Yep. Those are the cheap ones.
Yeah.
The ones that you see on the bottom left, those are the expensive
Yeah,
villas.
they were like these
They're
kind of
called
villas, but those were just junk.
3 years there. Did you show any of that footage?
I didn't, but those are a wreck.
Those are only 3 years old.
Yeah.
And some of them are not even done being built.
Yeah.
We did a whole video where we walked through there and we were just appalled. The whole thing was falling apart.
Oh, it was. Anyway, if you look in the distance, you'll see cranes and construction equipment building more of these buildings over there, right? So you've got some completed ones, and then you've got more that are currently under construction. And if you look in the very far distance, you see more cranes because they're still building more back there.
This
and
is
of course,
in 2018, right?
Yeah, this is 2018.
This has gotten crazier.
Of course. This is the entire economic engine of China. Like a third of China's GDP is all about this nonsense, right? People buying and speculating. More cranes building more stuff. But I want to bring your guys' attention back to the whole empty lots, okay? Mm-hmm. Because China's real estate market has been hit by, a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. Evergrande, as we all know, went bankrupt and defaulted, which is one of the biggest real estate. Even other big ones like Wanke, Wanker, yes, Wanke, are also having troubles. Tons of smaller real estate companies are also having big issues.
Yeah.
But what this has led to is a big slowdown in construction. Okay, again, I want to point out, here's another site that I filmed, that we filmed with a drone nearby. You can see 2 empty lots where they're going to be building new apartments. Behind, you've got those empty apartments, and behind them, you can see more cranes building more.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. 2 years ago, you and your family went to one of these sales events.
Yep.
And you saw this model, and you saw this is like whatever, 20,000 RMB per square meter or whatever it was. You put down your deposit, and you've been paying this mortgage for 2 years now. Every month, you get the deduction, which is big.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Okay? And you took a mortgage out for an apartment on this lot over here.
That dirt part.
This dirt part. Within those 2 years, the construction hasn't even started.
No.
Or if it has started, it's been delayed now, and it's not continuing to be built. So it's kind of like just they've put up a few skeletal husks, and they haven't continued.
You're hoping that they at least Control-C, Control-V that shit.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
they didn't.
So now imagine this happens. You now see that the lot next to yours, so let's look at the one over there, that one. They're now having a new sales event, and the new
It sounds like a car lot.
Yeah, exactly.
New sales event.
Exactly. And in that new that lot next to the lot where you purchased, which hasn't been built yet, or is just starting to be built and it's delayed and stopped, they're now selling apartments for 15% less than what you paid for.
Now, if I'm going to throw something in here, it's going to be you have to understand the logic and reasoning behind a lot of Chinese people. The only reliable investment for them is property.
Yes.
So if you hear, and they're also very, very entrepreneurial people, right?
Sure.
They've been given a lot of opportunities to invest in things and make money, something they couldn't do under Chairman Mao, right? So they're a very business-oriented folk.
Yep.
All of a sudden you hear about people not having to pay as much.
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, they're outraged. There's a reason why, by the way, things are being sold for like 15% less than new stuff coming out. Is because the demand isn't there anymore.
Right.
Because of the huge economic downturn that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So in order to try and sell units, they're lowering the prices.
Yeah.
So now the people in lot A over here who have already been paying for 2 years their mortgage, so they've already paid like...
They don't have a house.
Yeah, they don't own anything yet.
No.
Okay, it's just an idea.
Right.
But they've been paying for this idea for 2 years, find out that the one next door to them, which is exactly the same, it's not going to be better or worse, it's going to be the same outcome, is being sold for 15% less.
Yeah.
They're pissed.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
no way.
No, not happening.
So you know what they're all doing is they're starting to stop the payment of their mortgages.
So again, I think you're doing a great job telling this. What I'll do is just throw in little cultural nuances here. In China, you wouldn't be able to go have a huge ass protest, right? You wouldn't be able to go out there and do that. You'll see inklings of that. You'll see little ones break out like you're seeing in Henan, right? But you won't see this throbbing mass of people going, take down the government, give us our money back, blah, 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 on a huge, massive scale, right?
Yeah.
So what is the best way that they can protest? Well, just don't pay it.
Yeah, don't pay it.
And the government has never, ever, ever been prepared for something like that.
No, this is the first time it's happened. So we started to hear a little bit of news about this last week, where they were saying like maybe about 35 projects over 22 cities.
Yeah.
This has been happening. Well, guess what? The news has changed now. Now they're saying over 100 projects in 50 different cities, but it's actually not that. I've been speaking to people in China. It's more like 200 projects. In other words, 200 of these, because, there's one thing about people that buy these properties. You experienced it. My wife's experienced it. Anyone who's bought property, everybody's buying property in that place, get together in like WeChat groups, and they all communicate because they all take care of any issues that might arise, and they talk about their investments and stuff, right? So when people stop paying, it's not one person that stops paying for one apartment. The whole group of people for that entire apartment complex will be like, no, we're not going to pay. Because if one person's not going to pay, we're not going to pay. Why are we paying for this? And the reason they're doing this is they're trying to force the hand of the real estate companies and the Chinese government to be like, okay, fine, we'll reduce the cost 15%, so you don't have to pay more than your neighbor.
That's right.
That's what they're trying to do. And they're also trying to force them to continue the projects because there's been no movement.
Right.
The punishments so far have been things like, of course, your credit score has been affected. So people that have done this and they don't pay the mortgage, They can't have credit cards anymore. It affects your social credit. Some people can't travel, that kind of thing. But they don't care at this point because, look, people are kind of stuck with COVID anyway.
That's a good point. But I think it's also it's important to understand this is not like a little side project. This is a lot of people's full life investment.
Yes.
That they've bet on dirt.
Yes.
And now that they're the only option they have is I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Why the hell not? Of course I'm not going to pay it.
So some rough estimates on the amount that this could cost the Chinese economy or this whole thing is over $100 billion US.
Yeah.
And that's
over 200 projects.
That's incredibly conservative. That was the initial when they were still thinking there was only about 35, 40 projects that had been stalled, but we're looking at 200. It's not even in the small rural areas either. We're talking about some of these projects in Shenzhen and even Beijing.
Yeah.
Okay, where people are like, we're done. We're not paying. But it's had an even bigger knock-on effect because it's not only like, it's going to cause like $100 billion or whatever it is in bad debt, but it's also shaken confidence in banks and in the real estate market. And you know what that's done? It's affected the stock prices of those like industries. So now we're seeing stocks plummet when it comes to banks, people taking stocks in banks, plummeting a lot, and some of the big banks as well, like the Agricultural Bank of China, these bigger institutions that are normally untouchable. We're seeing their stock prices plummet. And also real estate companies who also rely on a lot of stock investment, their stock prices are plummeting too. So it's having a massive knock-on effect.
Yeah.
So this has the potential out of anything to really create a huge dent in the Chinese economy.
Yeah.
Because if the Chinese government, even though they've now stepped in and they've tried to like assure people that they'll make sure the projects get finished and stuff, I mean, even if they do step in like that, now people realize that there's a way for them to effect change, so to speak, by doing this. Right? And they're not going to settle for anything other than what they demand, which is they want these projects finished and they want their 15% or whatever it is discount. And that's going to hammer the property market because if they have to capitulate and start selling these things for less, it's going to upset the entire industry. It's going to take confidence out of the entire industry.
Yes.
People are going to be like, we got to pay less. Why did I pay more?
Right.
When you go out to buy a new house now, you're not going to, the demand's going to be less. So if you buy this house, when you sell it, are you going to be able to make more money or is it going to be less? It's really going to upset everything. And the stock market downturn, everything together. If it spreads, and it already is spreading a lot, just imagine if it spread like wildfire and everybody who was currently invested in a building that hadn't been built yet.
Which is a ton.
Which is, I'd say, a huge percentage.
Huge percentage, yeah.
If they all decided we're not going to pay anymore, it would topple the entire industry.
Oh, yeah.
Because the entire real estate industry relies on this Ponzi scheme of getting money for dirt.
Absolutely.
Money for nothing. And if they're not going to get that money for nothing, how are they going to pay for their materials? They already can't get loans anymore because of those 5 red line rules that the government put into place. You can really see the entire real estate economy, the engine just collapsing.
Yeah.
So this is the first time ever that I have ever seen a situation with the Chinese economy that might actually have ramifications, huge ramifications that cannot just be swept under the rug.
Right.
Because the Chinese government will always step in and prop up all these companies. They'll always just eat the cost. They'll do whatever they can do because it's not like the West where things naturally kind of adjust themselves.
Yeah.
The Chinese government will fake numbers and they'll pump money into things that they shouldn't and they'll do whatever they do. But this time, you can say that there's a big possibility that this is going to have massive ramifications, this particular situation.
Actually, my video that I released today has everything to do with those ramifications.
Right.
So if you want to check that out, go to Lawai86.
Yeah, please do. I just wanted to show a little bit more of this drone footage for a second here. Because just to give you an idea of the scale of how much of this construction and stuff is going on. All of those buildings over there are empty in that lot, okay? Yep. You can see everywhere on the horizon, you see buildings that are currently under construction or, newly finished.
Yeah.
And even the populated buildings that I lived in would have apartments that were still empty because of speculation.
Yeah.
People have bought them as an investment and never really put anything into them. I also wanted to show you the quality of the buildings. These buildings that you're seeing here, I filmed this in Guangzhou, which is the capital of Guangdong. You probably know it as Canton or Guangzhou, but it's got the Canton Tower. In fact, you'll be able to see it in this footage somewhere. These buildings are not old, by the way.
No, I lived in a building like this. It was from mid-90s.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're dealing with is like mid to late 90s, this building was built, and it just looks awful. So this is what you're spending your money on at the end of the day. This is what you're going to get.
This is an aged one. This is what you see. They actually were built better back then.
Yeah, they last
quite
longer.
a bit better. Yeah.
You can see, if you look right above where I'm pointing, in the distance you can see the Canton Tower.
Yeah.
For those of you who know anything about Guangzhou,
Guangdong,
and Guangdong, the Canton Tower, it's quite a spectacular tower. But it looks kind of crappy because this is, I'll be honest, what you see very often, this kind of weather, smog, pollution.
80%.
Yeah, exactly. So when you see these beautiful brochures and, like...
it's CCP propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. You see the flashy lights.
This is downtown Guangzhou, guys.
Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. But we just needed to tell you that this is really quite an important thing that's happened in the Chinese economy. This idea of boycotting paying your mortgages, because people have reached a point now where they don't care anymore.
No.
Okay?
No.
The unemployment rate is also massive in China right now.
Yes.
New graduates are finding it very difficult to get jobs because of the bloody lockdowns.
Yeah. It's oppressive.
It's awful. So people are not in the best of situations. And when you're paying these mortgages on these houses, they are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay? One of my clients in Shenzhen was paying 30,000 RMB a month for their just for their mortgage.
It's like $5,000, $4,000 or $5,000.
They could not afford it. They had to, the entire family, so was the husband and the wife and the grandparents and everyone else who had money in their family was helping them pay for this.
Yeah, because you think about it, it's $5,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
But the average person in Shenzhen makes about $1,500 a month. So
correct.
How are you spending 3 times your salary on your rent or your mortgage?
Your mortgage. And the crazy thing is that it's 30,000 RMB a month they were paying for their mortgage. I was paying for 3,800 RMB for rent.
$500.
So nothing,
rent.
10% or whatever it is for rent for the same size apartment that they bought, and it wasn't built yet.
Yeah.
So it's a stupid situation.
Ponzi scheme.
It is. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's the Chinese real estate market. But I'm just saying, watch this space, guys, because unless the Chinese government comes in and quashes this, which I'm telling you they are already, they're trying their best to stop the spread of this. Right? So when people talk about it, it's getting deleted. It's not being talked about.
No.
Because they don't want people to catch on to the idea that if they stop paying their mortgages, that they're going to get results.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Because if it spreads, they're effed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much that whole segment. So let's move on, shall we? Have a couple of super chats and then we'll get to the next one?
Sure. Doc Slothington says...
I'll just leave this drone footage in the background.
Yeah, sure. I'll get to Docs in a second because it's a good segue. Mm-hmm. A few weeks ago, sorry, it's from Rob. Mm-hmm. A few weeks ago, you were talking about the women who were getting attacked for not doing what the men told them to do. Any update on these women? Stay safe. What were we talking about there?
I don't know.
Women getting attacked for not doing what they told them to.
I'll have to look into that. I mean, there's a huge issue with...
I think, we were definitely talking about domestic abuse.
Yeah, there's a lot of horrible things going on.
I don't think there's any update on that. It's gonna be like that for a while.
Yep.
Oh, it was the stabbing or the beating at the barbecue restaurant.
Oh, that.
Tangshan, that one.
Yeah, I mean, look.
We actually, a bunch of new ones happened on my street.
Yeah.
Where I used to live. It's absolutely insane.
Again, ask yourself, what happened to the chain woman? Have you heard anything about that?
No.
See how this outrage will crop up about a human rights thing like this, the women's rights with the chain woman. And it actually is so big that it makes international news and it makes news around the country.
Yeah.
But very quickly it's forgotten and swept under the rug.
Yeah.
And that's because they make it that way.
Right.
They literally disappeared her so nobody could interview her anymore.
Yeah.
They stopped reporters being able to go to that area of China. They stopped all conversation. People that made artworks had their artworks destroyed. They stopped it because the Chinese government does not want this kind of thing to be out there because it causes civil unrest.
Yes.
It causes people to question
you heard about Peng Shuai
yeah,
these days?
exactly. It causes people to question the government.
Yeah.
And they don't want that. So you hear about these things, and the same with the beating of these women.
Yeah.
Huge outrage. People talking about women's rights again.
Yep.
Don't hear about it anymore.
No, I will say that there was a bunch of rumors going around. Again, I will say rumors at this point because there is no way to confirm this, but that those women died.
Well, some of them did, according to the rumors.
Yeah. Kathleen Morrison, why is there so much trust in the national CCP when the populace knows the local government is so corrupt? Why do they trust the government at all? Kathleen, I think my video will be perfect for you today.
Yeah.
That's verbatim what I talk about.
Yeah.
So go check it out.
Check it out.
David Lopan, just a weekly reminder that the CCP is in violation of the global Magnitsky Act in terms of their support for Putin's war of aggression upon Ukraine. That's right.
Yeah.
That is correct. Thank you for the weekly reminder.
Thank you.
Sean O'Sullivan says, what news of Daszak? What's his other name?
Oh, yeah, this guy. Give me a second. We're this guy.
Yeah.
Well, there is not really any news about him, to be honest. He's managing to stay under the radar, as is probably the best thing for him to do right now.
Yeah.
But as we all know, he helped cover up the initial outbreak and seriousness of the COVID-19 outbreak.
That's right.
And there'll be a lot for him to answer to one of these days.
I suppose if it ever makes it to whatever.
Peter Balzac, otherwise known as Peter Daszak, with his Eco-Death Alliance.
Eco-Death Alliance. DC, can't say dictator without dick.
Okay.
Marit Strickmatter, thank you very much. Grillam Mad, longtime viewer, just caught you live. Just starting to get over COVID after a week of being sick. Thanks for ruining my week, CCP and Peter Balzac.
Yeah, there we go.
So sorry, JPN. Susan, again, not noticed. You're calling Susan out, CEO of YouTube.
Right.
Susan, again, not notifying me of this live stream or my free super chat. Not good.
Not good.
We'll get back to the other ones, but I want to say Doc Slothington, because he has a great segue.
What's that?
He says, after having just heard about it for the first time on the Monday show, I'm now seeing rumors that Chinese Ox and Hefty Bird are financing the first American franchise of Dongle King. Please confirm.
Right. Guys, we have to quickly tell you about our Monday show.
Oh, so fun.
We talked about what Chinese people think Western food is.
Yeah, it's China. All the bad Western food we had in China, we did a breakdown. And we tier listed it.
Yeah, you can see a couple of things in the back. I actually just wanted to point out the before we even get into it, because this was hilarious. These slippers. Can I talk about these slippers for a second? All right,
it's very relevant to the food.
Of course. I'm going to put it on top. But these slippers are so typical of like Tier 88 China when you get there.
Yeah.
Take a look. Not only does it say Knie on it instead of Nike, but you think that's where it ends? Nope. It's like,
double down.
Yeah, double down. So, it's supposed to be NBA, right? But nope, it's BNA. I love that. I just love that. Anyway, yeah, we were talking. The reason we showed that is we were talking about when you get into the more rural parts of China, or just outside the big cities, really, you start to see these absolutely absurd Western style restaurants.
Yeah, just like crazy, like you're on an acid trip.
Yeah. So we went on about it. Can I show? I got to show just.
Don't spoil it.
I won't, but I'll let people make up their own minds about this advert that I filmed.
It's not an advert; it's their poster.
Well, the poster
in the restaurant.
Yes.
By the way, this is for Texas Burger. As you can see, it's on a Burger King logo.
Yeah.
They don't serve chicken.
No.
They don't serve fried chicken.
No. Very good. I feel like I feel like we said in the show, that's a fairly racist poster.
It goes more deep than that though, because it's not even his hand.
No, look, you see, they've photoshopped a hand, okay, like an adult hand holding a drumstick. Let me get closely.
Good.
Like
Texas hamburger.
And we speculate that it's supposed to be a stock image of a child singing.
I think so.
Probably with a microphone.
So. Yeah, like you type in, you go to Shutterstock and child singing.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
And then what they've done is they've superimposed a hand with a chicken drumstick, fried chicken, Anyway.
Very goodly, yum, yum.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, it is. Where is that? Let's see if I can find that.
Right there. You had your mouse on it.
Oh, I did I? There we go. The reason we're telling you about this, guys, is that's our Monday show.
Yeah.
We talk about rubbish like that. So,
it's not rubbish.
No, but I mean, it is. It's fun.
That
we talk
was,
about
it was
junk
like
that.
2 hours of pure, like some of our craziest experiences, and with video evidence of the weirdest, crappiest Western food we had in China. We ranked it, and it was so fun. Everyone had such a good time. So definitely go to our show.
Yeah, so if you want to watch that, remember it's on Mondays, guys. If you are a patron, we have a Shaban Ho tier, and you get to see that. You can watch the old episodes if you join now, and of course we have them.
You don't have to be live.
Yeah, and there's a live show every Monday. So
if you want to go see the food episode, it's up now on there. If you're on the Shaban Ho tier, so please go do that.
Yeah, if you're interested in catching.
I'll make a pinned thing up here.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, it's time for us to move on, guys. We're going to move on to our next segment of the show, which of course is Wu Mao Corner, which I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've moved our office around a little bit here, our studio, and the little button thing that I push for changing scenes and stuff is not connected because I don't have a long enough USB extension. Yeah. So things are a little weird today, if you don't mind. So we're just going to go on to Wu Mao Corner, where we talk about, the terrible things that the haters are doing and so on and so forth, which of course is always an interesting thing. And today what we're going to be talking about is, okay, we're talking about something.
Just give me a sec. I'm doing the ad for it to pin it.
Okay.
You can talk about it.
What is this?
What? Oh, that's personal. Put that up there.
It's personal?
What do you think? Actually, this is good. Why do you think I included this?
I don't know. It's like Manila.
Just look closely.
Okay, it says Manila, Philippines with an earthquake.
This isn't a trick.
Looks like an earthquake. Is that an earthquake?
That has nothing to do with it. But.
Okay, and then there's Taiwan up there with a bunch of people sitting on it. And Guangzhou, Macau. What are we looking at here? The 9-dash line?
Okay.
Yeah.
See the 9-dash line?
Yeah.
Now, that wouldn't really surprise you if I was getting this from Baidu Maps or something, right?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the 9-dash line.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know what the 9-dash line is, it's this claim that China just came up with a couple of years ago. They were like, this belongs to us because we found an ancient map. This part of the sea. And if you look at the map, you'll see those like gray dashes. That's called the 9-dash line. And they claim everything within inside that belongs to China. And it's gotten so ridiculously political that if a country like prints a map or puts up a map that doesn't include that, then China will boycott that country or cause diplomatic issues.
But if you pull up your phone right now and you look in this region, see how Taiwan's included in there?
Yeah. Taiwan's inside the 9-dash line.
If you go to Apple or Google Maps, you're not going to see the 9-dash line.
No.
Of course not, right? Because that's obnoxious and
Yeah.
wrong.
And it's just a claim.
No
one is like saying, yes, that's right.
Philippines disagrees, Vietnam disagrees, Taiwan disagrees, everyone in the region, Malaysia disagrees.
Everyone disagrees because you know what, it's not true. And you can't just be like,
make it up.
Okay, and I gotta say, China, with your ancient map bullshit, how about I bring up an old map of the British Empire and say, well, look at that. You know what? We owned all of this. This belongs to us. Get the hell out. Like, you move somewhere else. You know what? Like Hong Kong and that whole area over there. Yeah, it belonged to us. Ancient maps don't mean shit.
No, it doesn't.
You can't pull out an ancient map and say that is historically our territory.
Correct. It has to be a legal thing.
Yeah.
So they do this. And imagine, like, if you look at other countries around the world on a globe or something, you don't need to have lines because borders are delineated through law.
Yes.
Right? But China has a hissy fit if you don't have this absolutely ridiculous 9-dash line on your stuff, like you said.
Yeah.
This is Snapchat.
Oh, Snapchat.
This was sent to me by a friend of mine who's currently living in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And he was very shocked to see, and we've confirmed, that Snapchat has the 9-dash line. And Snapchat is an American company that has nothing to do with China. In fact, it's been banned in China forever, for ages. Has nothing to do with the Chinese market. Yeah. Their map, which is very widely used by, it's not like a little feature. Everyone uses this map to see where their friend spread is.
Right.
Is the 9-dash line.
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely outlandish. So he reached out to the dev team or whatever. Everyone out there, get a hold of Snapchat.
Yeah, tell Snapchat to
obnoxious.
F off with this.
They're wrong.
Okay.
It's just wrong. It's
Yeah.
not just wrong. It's offensive to Taiwanese people, and it's offensive to the people in your market. It's
Yes.
offensive to the Filipino people who use Snapchat
Yes.
because it's legal there.
Yeah, and Taiwanese people.
Who are you trying to capitulate to? You're not even allowed to. Your app isn't available in China. That's the
Yeah.
dumbest behavior I've ever seen.
Well, they probably want to break into the market.
It's not. It's been banned. They will never allow Snapchat.
I know they'll never allow.
Never.
But you know how Hollywood and all this, they
Yeah,
capitulate
yeah.
because they want to get in. So that's probably what Snapchat's
But
doing.
at least Hollywood got a morsel.
Yes,
A
yes.
strand of wool.
Yeah,
You
they
know what I
did.
mean?
A crumb.
Snapchat doesn't have
Yeah.
a crumb.
Yeah.
Right? They're sitting there with their fedora on.
Yeah.
Playing a freaking flute or something.
Sure.
Or whatever those
Yeah.
neckbeards do.
Yeah.
And they're trying to capitulate to a market they can't even touch.
Yeah.
They don't have a crumb.
No, they don't have a crumb or a strand. You know what? That's absolutely immoral, Snapchat.
Awful.
Remember, like Leapfrog Toys or whatever.
Yeah,
Remember we showed
remember that.
on their educational globes and stuff had the 9- line, and people were complaining, "What is this Chinese propaganda?" The problem is when you get your products made in China,
Yes.
it's difficult not to do that because you'll get the companies that will refuse to make it.
Right.
I'll be like, no.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm talking about when I put on a Taiwan VPN, by the way.
Right.
So they're capitulating to China because of Taiwan.
Yeah.
So all the people in Taiwan that are seeing this,
Yeah.
that's the case.
Yeah.
I guess if you pull it up like in some countries, then it doesn't matter.
probably
I'll
doesn't.
pull it up in a US. It's
Yeah,
probably not there.
pull it up in the
Yeah, I
US.
did it on Taiwan VPN to confirm he was telling the truth, and he was.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's really the case, Snapchat has to change their
It's actually
BS.
if it's not on the American one, I'll actually be more mad.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're targeting Taiwanese people
That'd be
by
even-
saying that you belong to China.
That's
and
terrible.
like not doing it elsewhere.
No, that's
That would be worse.
even worse. Yeah, if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here.
Yeah, pull it up and see.
Yes.
It's not there?
That's so bad.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Dude. No.
All right. So yeah, quick correction there. They're using that on the Taiwanese
Yes.
app. Well,
yes. Because when I went on the Taiwan VPN,
Yeah.
it came up for him too. So now, guys, we're in a situation where they're trying to hide it from
Yeah.
you in other countries that they're using this 9- line, but they're telling Taiwanese people, by the way, probably because China reached out, said
Yeah.
you have to do this in a country where they're not allowed to operate.
Yeah.
In saying mainland China, the PRC, the People's Republic of China, the Communist China owns you, a democratic free nation of Taiwan.
I wonder if they do that with the Philippines and all the other
That would be
Vietnam and stuff.
interesting. I'll try some VPNs later.
Yeah,
I'll give
we'll
you
try
an
it
update.
out. Yeah, so we'll
That's
update you
a
on this
slap
next
in the
time.
face.
It's huge. Taiwan is a country, guys.
Yes.
Taiwan is separate, always has been. Has never been ruled by the Communist Party of China ever.
No.
Not once. All right? So, yeah. Now, what is this that you brought up here? This is a comment on one of your most recent
It
videos.
doesn't matter. It's on my video. It's just a comment that I wanted to reach out. It's always good to have a little update. I thought it represented what I've been hearing a lot.
Yeah.
There's not many foreigners that are deciding to stick around in China. They're working
Yeah.
out their contracts. A lot of them are losing their jobs.
Right.
A lot of them are just packing their bags and leaving. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's not a conducive environment to be a foreigner.
Dude, most people that I know have either left, and I'm talking long-term people, and that's when you got to worry.
Right.
When people have been there for a decade or more, okay,
Right.
like we were,
Right.
you've got your roots, you've been there for so long, you've dedicated so much of your life to living in China. When people like that are like, okay, finally it's time to leave,
Yeah.
you know something's wrong. These fresh off the boat guys who've been there for a couple of years or whatever, they still don't understand the place enough. They haven't lived there long enough. Some of them are willing to stick it out because they're still having a party and enjoying the cheap booze and the party lifestyle or whatever it is that they're into. Or they're running away from something. They want to start a fresh life. They're running away from a dodgy past or whatever. You get those people.
Yeah, you
they'll stick it out. But it's the people that have been there for a long time and the professionals that have been there that work at factories, that work at international schools, things like that. The professionals who went there and have a proper career there, they're leaving too.
Yes.
Like I know someone
Absolutely.
who's a very good educator that's been living in Shanghai for 15 years now.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, and they've left.
Did you see this comment? Lila Farley's in the chat, by the way. Shout out.
yeah?
Lila Farley, friend of the show.
Yeah.
He says, everyone I know has left. Every single person.
That's true.
Yeah. I only know like 2 foreigners left.
Even the freaking
My
shills
friends.
have left
even
for
the
the most
shills
part.
are leaving.
Yeah.
They're dropping like flies.
There are a
And they're
few
coming up with
diehards.
absolutely ridiculous excuses.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, my family's blah, blah, blah. I miss
Yeah.
them. I'm going to
Oh,
come back. I'll be right back.
medical treatment,
I'll be right
whatever.
back.
Yeah. It's like whatever. Like
Sure.
the people who have been really like sucking the G-bar of the CCP for the longest time, who you think would stay, even they're like, that's enough.
Yeah.
These lockdowns really showed them the true lack of freedom.
Yes.
And the true nature of the Chinese government, that everything's fine until it's not.
Yeah.
And you can have a party and all that, but where are you going to go get your cheap beers and your prostitutes and all that kind of stuff when you're stuck in your apartment and have to get forced COVID tested every day?
Yeah, the dregs of the scumbag
that's
foreigners.
no longer an option. So if you take away the only reason a lot of these people are there,
True.
they're not going to stick around.
Yes.
Yes. The attention and all the other stuff that they use, the free trips that they get to travel around and do propaganda.
Yes.
When you can't travel because of COVID restrictions, what's the point?
Lila Farley had another thing. He said all the shills left at the same time.
They did.
But none brought up the zero COVID policy. How serendipitous.
Yeah.
Very true.
It's very true.
No one brought that up.
There are some massive shills, and we don't like to put a spotlight on them, but guys that have been really working for the Communist Party on their propaganda side, they all left within a very short space of time. And we're talking about people that have been there for a long time, that have been doing this full time, for the Chinese government, that have been all over on the news, done the Xinjiang genocide denial, all this kind of stuff. They're all just like, poof, okay, we're leaving.
Yep. All done.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read this comment. She says, this nice Heather girl, she says, I work in Hefei. That's in Anhui up there.
Right.
Kind of near Shanghai, but more rural. And in international school, at a real international school.
Yeah.
No Chinese curriculum. So these do exist. They're very rare.
Yes.
These are very highly paid, and they'll use like foreign curriculum.
Yeah.
But our bilingual school has to drop Canada from the name because they'll be like Canada's international school or America's international
Canadian,
school. It happened
English.
to me. Like I wasn't even allowed to call it New York.
Yeah, remember
right?
they made you take down your...
It's called Manhattan.
Yeah.
They're like, no, too political. This pro-America, get it out of there.
Yeah, and they took down your
My
American flag. Yeah.
Which was next to the Chinese flag.
Yeah. So you weren't like, this is better.
No, it was like partnership.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had to drop the name Canada from the name, and the government came and pulled every English book from the library. Can you imagine? Just imagine this.
Yeah.
There's a high school right down the road.
Yeah.
You have this high school, and they teach Chinese. You can go take Chinese class.
Dude, here in America, you have the Chinese schools.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I remember...
Right? I'm saying not only in that, I'm saying you go to public school.
But remember when we were in California?
Yes.
They actually had like the Chinese school.
Yeah.
It's a Chinese school. You go there. It's like an international school.
Yes.
For Chinese people that live in
do
the
remember
States, they can go to this school and it's only in Chinese and it's only for Chinese people.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's the
Right.
Chinese...
I mean, anyone can go.
Yeah, of course. But it's a Chinese school with Chinese curriculum and it's all... You know what I mean?
Now imagine they shut those down.
Yeah.
Right? Now, and also they go into the high school where all American kids are going, right?
Yeah.
And there's a Mandarin class, so you can take Mandarin or Spanish or
Yeah.
French, right? Or German. And they go in there, they shut down the Mandarin class, and they take all Chinese language books off the shelf and they throw them out. They're like, you are not allowed to do this.
It's the same as if you went into the Chinese school and you're like, okay, no longer allowed to have any Chinese textbooks in the Chinese school.
Yes, in the
'Cause
Chinese
it's
school. That's a good
That's
analogy,
it.
yeah.
Take them out. Throw them out.
So a lot of the international schools closed down.
Yes.
First of all, this woman is, she's fortunate enough to have kept her job for the time being, because we've seen people lose their jobs. The international schools get rid of all the foreigners, and then they get rid of all foreign curriculum.
Yeah, dude. Like, this dude.
Is that my gold? What the hell are
Yeah,
you?
Chinese
I'm a
communist leprechaun over
with
here,
you.
for instance, has to give up his training center, got shut down.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody, and they have to go full-time shill because they can't.
Yeah, the shill,
Sponsor themselves
becoming a
in it.
shill was also a coping mechanism, financial coping mechanism, because a lot of people lost their jobs as teachers.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to get at here, is that the whole teaching and training industry took a massive hit when they were like, they're no longer allowed to have these private training centers.
So
And
then
they
the
shut them
government
down.
comes in, but you can shill for the government and do
Yes.
propaganda.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, I'll do that.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible. Yeah. So that's a good comment from
Heather.
yeah. I hope that's not a real name.
I doubt it. I mean, she was a public comment. That's why I read it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide it. It's not a DM.
No, it's not. So this over here, you got to explain what happened here.
So this is, it's weird. This is actually to a random account that we have. It's just some random burner account. was emailed. This joint, we use it just for crap, like spam stuff. But this Quora, Quora.
Yeah, Quora,
questions.
by the way, now belongs to the CCP.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they actually did an entire state media piece on People's Daily, I believe. Was it People's Daily? On how to co-opt Quora and change it into a propaganda outlet for the CCP. And that was public. That's not leaked. They did a public piece on that, on how to train citizens to do that.
Yeah.
So it is now. Quora is, I can't believe it. Isn't Quora American?
I don't know what it is.
How do they feel to be an outlet of the Chinese government and Uyghur genocide?
Well, I mean, it's the weirdest thing, because all you need to do to test this, by the way, is to go onto Quora and ask a question that's politically sensitive in China. So ask, anything about Xi Jinping, or ask, about the Tiananmen Square massacre or something, and you'll get attacked. Just attacked. And there'll be like all these weird deflection articles coming up and all these people. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the Wu Mao Club, right, is this Quora group where they just do Uyghur genocide denial and why is America so bad and why is China so good. It's always these straw man questions, like, why is China the best place in the world and America's the worst? It'll be like questions like that.
Yeah.
Like, why does America say there's a genocide when we already know 100% that there isn't a genocide and it's already been proven?
That's the question, yeah.
And they sent us, it was interesting, they sent us a recommendation. Quora said, would you be interested in joining this group? They emailed that to us.
The Wu Mao Club.
And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What is actually happening?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Quora's...
this is a fair warning to everybody. Quora has been compromised. And
it's fully compromised.
It's 100% compromised. If you go there for any answers that are political, to do with geopolitics, it's definitely going to be biased towards China.
Not just towards.
It is run by the Chinese 50 Cent Army at this point. Yeah. It belongs to China. There's no two ways about it.
No.
So you know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so is that what we got for Wu Mao Corner?
I believe so, yeah.
All right, let's make sure. I'm going to just make sure we don't spoil anything here. Whoop, sorry.
Whoa!
Wrong one. I just don't want to spoil anything here. Okay, yeah. All right. So we're going to take a few more super chats before we hit our world view. So what do we got?
Tanmay Kulkarni says, hey guys, I'm from India. I've been a big fan since a long time.
Cool.
If China collapses, what does that mean for the world at large? I don't think you're going to see it. I think you should watch my new video.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Just remember, though, that this economic downturn and all these lockdowns have already affected the world. Dude.
Supply chain.
I don't know if anyone's noticed these days, but if you want to buy a new car or something, it's difficult. The wait lists are very long.
Yeah.
Certain items that you were used to buying and getting in a short period of time now take months sometimes to reach. Like certain things that people were relying on. This is the knock-on effect if the Chinese economy goes bad.
Yes.
The lockdowns have stopped a lot of factories from operating. There's a lot of workers that cannot do their job. They cannot meet the supply anymore. And it's causing massive knock-on effects throughout the entire world. So if the economy really tanks, we're going to see more of that. True. Unless companies are smart enough to move their manufacturing out of China, we're going to be hit with a lot of this stuff.
True. So. Ilbio, thank you very much. A. Watson, thank you for informing my mind while making me laugh. Thank you very much. Cool. David Lopan says, has Winston ever gone by the name The White Django?
No.
It fits like an OJ glove. David, are you being weird again?
I think so. I don't know what you're on about.
By the way, either of you in the market for a mother of 8? He says things that give me chills, and I don't know why.
No, thank you.
What is that?
I don't know, like Octomom.
What?
There was that woman who got a doctor to, do dodgy things so that she had 8 children.
Oh, wasn't that fake though?
No, it happened.
Remember that one scam one in South Africa that wasn't true?
No, but the Octomom thing was true.
South Africa?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that was. Whatever. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Anyway, it's like tabloid crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joshua King, here's my weekly 20. Rip Shinzo Abe.
Thank you.
Very much. Ilbo, I worked 8 months in China in 2013, 2014. Thank you for showing the real China, not the Shanghai, Beijing bubble. Love from Italy. We'd like to go to Italy.
Yeah, Italy's awesome.
Here's love till I'm faced drunk.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Koala1203 just giving you $5 donation from the port of Dandong. We need to make a soundbite.
We're going to make a soundbite. Listen, I first need to have I do have it here, by the way.
People in the chat are clamoring for me to be in control of soundboard because they think you're doing a bad job, but it's actually not your fault.
Look, it's dead.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
I'll tell you next time. I was gonna give a little cliffhanger.
No, this is
A
the
wire
reason.
hanger.
Okay, because we've got this desk here and it's far away from the streaming computer. So if you were to see our office right now, it's ridiculous. Our soundboard's like on the floor, halfway in between the desk
Yeah.
and the computer, just so the USB cable can reach. And this, by the way, Elgato, whatever,
Gato,
the
yeah.
cat.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
El Gato, yeah, the cat.
Yeah, Casa de la Gatos or whatever.
Yeah,
this
correct.
thing, it's supposed to be for streaming, and you give this much length on your USB cable. What is wrong with
That
you?
is pretty bad.
You know, like it's just whatever. So yeah, we apologize, but it'll be fixed.
Yeah, people are begging for my radio. I can't do any of that stuff right now.
Don't worry, next week we'll have it sorted out.
We
Promise.
should have a democratic soundboard though.
Yeah, well, dude,
Yeah.
you're always pressing that crap.
Yeah, but I can't reach it. I'm telling this audience here, I am not in control of it. He's not. No one's in control of it.
No.
There is no soundboard.
But you know what? Remember, like we actually got somebody donated money for this.
Yes.
And we have the old one. And all I need to do is figure out how to run them both at the same time. And then you can have one, I can have one.
Or we could have one that scenes, one that sounds.
No,
that
I
kind
mean,
of
like, I think you should be able to have access to
True.
all of those little I think we can figure it out. Guys, we'll figure it out. Promise.
thing. Yeah, we're going to make it a democratic soundboard.
Yes.
Gringo Poppy says supporting Winston's drug addiction.
What? Oh, you mean like beer? Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Alcohol's a drug.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dylan G Tech. This gives me a great idea for the annual prank gift to the family back home.
What's that?
Hopefully it's not any of the dark stuff we just covered there.
No idea.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Marie Stripmatter, a friend of the channel, says, I have some model pictures of my fiance on the wall, but we were separated for a while due to the virus, and I like to see her waking up. That's different. It's your fiance. It's not
Yes,
you.
it's not you.
Maurice,
you don't
you
put
don't
a
have
picture of yourself. Yeah, like I hope not. Like being all shy and all handsome. Like, you know, you have a picture of yourself with like
You
sparkles
have
in
it
your
on your
eyes.
ceiling. Wow. Remember the coffee shop that we used to go to? That
And it had, like, Nicolas Cage on the
the ceiling. And you like,
We've got footage, I'm sure,
we
right?
do. We do.
No.
Cairo says, was late for Xiaoban Ho this week, but it was epic.
Cool.
Made me want some burgers. Oh, Texas
Yeah, Texas burger, yeah.
Yeah, guys, go to our Patreon. I swear to God, you will love our last episode. And
Yeah.
we're every Monday.
Yeah, we got a good one for this Monday.
Yeah, we do. Shaze, I've always wanted to have a picture of me bare-chested on my bedroom wall.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, we'll come back to these.
Yeah, definitely. We got to hit our final subject of the day, which of course is World View, where we talk about what's happening in the world, specifically with regards to China. It's kind of like what's new, but with an international like lean or slant, one could say.
Yes.
So let's take a look. What is this?
This is some Xinjiang.
These are some
farms.
cotton picking Uyghurs, and that's this whole thing about forced labor.
Yes.
Okay. Which is, of course, something that happens, and there's no denying it. Why are the concentration camps all next to big cotton fields and whatnot? Why did they put so much effort into propaganda to try and pretend this doesn't happen?
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So genocide, forced labor, all this, I almost said good, all this horrible stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Such a colloquial phrase saying good stuff. It's
Yeah.
actually bad stuff.
It's bad stuff.
All this horrible stuff is happening in Xinjiang, and the U.S. finally enacted its cotton ban from the region.
Remember, this was something that had been talked about, and it was put into in motion like a long time ago, like
but it's
years ago, right?
or months. Last year I covered it, so the cotton ban.
A long time ago.
Anyway,
it caused uproars in China. Caused
I
all
did
this
a whole video
nationalist
about the
crap.
protests, like people burning their H&M shirts
Yeah.
and like trying to rip them apart. It's
Yeah.
very funny footage.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is, I think it's some 80 something percent of all the cotton in China comes from Xinjiang.
Yeah, it's a big chunk.
Of course, now I guess what they'll do is they'll still do the forced labor cotton thing, but they'll just like doctor the books to say it's coming from somewhere else.
One might call it cotton, actually.
Oh yeah, one
Someone I
would.
know.
If I could somehow find that with our, give me a
Our
second.
very archaic.
This one. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
we
might
got-
call
I got
cotton.
it. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the point is, it forced the Chinese government's hand to buy all of the cotton that's been stagnating for 15 months or something.
Right.
It's been sitting there, not being able to be sold.
Mm.
Lockdowns plus this law, right? So they had to buy all this cotton,
Mm-hmm.
and they put it into reserve. But we've seen what happens with Chinese reserves.
Yeah.
A lot of the grain just goes absolutely foul,
Or
And
just
cotton
gets
goes bad too.
gets sold.
Yeah.
You know,
or it gets sold underhand.
Yeah. I guess the cotton's happening the same. The problem is that it's finally now been enacted. It wasn't enacted up until this point, so I'm sure the trade was still going on.
Well, I mean, they claim that they have to buy like 15 months worth of cotton reserves. So
Right.
Something's going on there.
Yeah, anyway, it is big news, and there's probably going to be massive ramifications and a lot of cooking of the books as far as I'm concerned, because they're very good at doing that sort of thing. You know, like in order to get past a made in China label, they'll make it in China and then they ship it to Vietnam, and it gets shipped from Vietnam with a made in Vietnam.
So you feel better. You're like,
label.
this is made in Vietnam, or this is made in Indonesia, or whatever.
Yeah,
and
depending on the situation.
Yeah, it's not always.
But there's always a loophole to be exploited, and so I feel like it's the same. Yeah. The fact of the matter is that this ban has now been enacted, which is good.
Yes.
Okay, because even if there's a whiff of this, forced labor and horrible slavery basically going on in Xinjiang, it should not be supported. And the Chinese government will not allow independent investigations. The Chinese government will just continue to deny all this stuff, but still do it.
Yeah.
And there's been ample evidence in the past to show that this kind of practice happens with where they, like, for instance, get prisoners to do the garlic peeling and stuff and all that kind of nonsense. And it's just, this whole forced labor thing is a thing in China. And we know what's been going on with the vocational camps in Xinjiang. So even if there's a whiff of it being true, there should be a ban until it can be proven otherwise.
Right.
You know?
I agree.
So that's world news. What else is going on in world news?
Probably something else.
Think so?
I think there is. There might be something happening in this world.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we should not show that.
Don't worry. Nothing's happening there. No, Daruchi sighting.
Oh, the Daruchi.
That's just a clip from the beginning.
Okay, yes.
Don't worry. You didn't.
All right.
It's nothing new, guys.
Nothing new. Okay.
Daruchi, those are the looky-loos.
Yeah,
Remember in the mall?
Yeah, I do.
Daruchi sighting, I figured I'd actually put these in Worldview from now on.
Okay.
Or either Worldview or like Yamcha.
Right.
The reason being...
Where was this?
I believe this was in Canada.
Oh.
And we've had so many slip through the cracks on our subreddit.
Right.
Reddit.com/r/ADVChina.
Yeah.
This
Could see the Daruchi old man right there.
Daruchi right there. Daruchi. People have been sending in their wild Daruchi spottings.
Yes.
On a truck here, maybe on like a billboard. Maybe they actually see a flagship store.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've been all over the place. It's been absolutely fantastic to see Daruchi pop up in the wild, and his legacy lives on.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Yeah. Well, Daruchi sighting. Do we have anything
No.
other than that? Okay, cool. So that means it's time for our favorite part of the show, which of course is Yamcha. So let me find where that is. There we go. Yamcha, where we talk about what's going on, in the comments. So all your super chats your super chats get answered, and we just relax. I'm going to loosen the tie. By the way, just before we do, I have to tell you how it all works. If you're watching live, you get to watch this now. If you watch over the weekend, it's still there. On Monday, we cut it out of the show. But if you're a patron, you get to, to watch it.
There you go.
Yeah, you go here. You get to watch it, and you always get the full episodes undoctored on Patreon.
Yeah.
No matter which tier you are.
Yes.
I do want to quickly give a shout out about what's going to be happening as far as videos are concerned. You released your video today, which is actually a very good video, which is going over, the idea of why there isn't a revolution in China, even despite all the terrible things that are happening. My video, which will be released tomorrow, is going to focus more on the end of the Chinese dream.
Yes.
Okay. So it'll be released tomorrow morning. I really hope you get to see that. And if you haven't already seen the video about my brother, I really appreciate everybody who did. Remember last week I asked everyone if they could go and look?
Yeah.
And a lot of you did, and I appreciate it very much. It means a lot to me. And having done that video has helped me tremendously.
Good.
So thank you, everyone, for
Good
that.
stuff.
So for those of you who are not sticking around for Yamcha, stay awesome. We'll see you next week. And for those of you who are here now, let's get stuck in.
I don't know if you guys have realized this, but I'm slowly transitioning into a Laban look.
Yes.
Very slowly.
Yeah.
Laban would never wear a black polo.
Oh, I've seen it.
It's rare.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I'm starting to get into this kind of loose polo, thin material, I'll start to transition into those kind of muted green and purple bars.
Yes.
Like I'll get there eventually, guys.
I know you will. Yeah.
Thanks for noticing, guys, in the chat.
Yeah.
Walter said, blah, blah, blah. Reese Gray says, hello from Canada, guys. Shout out to the Aurora.
Yeah, of course. The pride of the Canadian military.
Keep up the good work and never stop advocating for a free China.
Absolutely.
Moritz says, A society at breaking point, so sad.
Yeah.
Henry A, thank you very much. Rainbow Dancer 97. Will China just end up functioning kind of like a bigger version of North Korea? That's a great analogy, and I think it's headed towards that very quickly.
Yeah, look at the cult of personality.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at how Xi Jinping is now this deity who's on the walls of people's homes and, like is seen as the greatest man and is being told, dude, remember the other day we were looking up something in the China Daily or whatever it was or whatever.
Oh, man.
Holy crap.
Dude, it used to be crap, like to
Yeah.
read Chinese media, obviously, but when you go to like China Daily or you go to, especially in the Chinese
Yeah, the
version,
Rim and Ribao. So we're
Rim
looking
and
at
Ribao,
the Chinese version.
you go there, it's literally Xi Jinping's thoughts, Xi's corner, Xi's
Yeah.
this, and then it's a quote, and then it's like this, and he's
So
all over the page.
the banner on the top
Yeah.
of the page has Xi Jinping in it.
Yeah,
then you've
yeah.
got this thing that keeps popping up like Xi's thoughts, Xi's
Writing this down.
Dude, please, we have to show this next time.
All of the Chinese state media websites, we're going to go and show you the splash page.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You cannot go to any media outlet in China without Xi Jinping's face there.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. It's as if there's nothing else in China that's newsworthy other than whatever this man says.
Yes.
Well
said.
It's absolutely dumb.
Yeah.
This guy's not that interesting.
No.
Okay.
In fact, I'd say he's on the
one of the
bottom end.
least interesting people
He's
ever.
One of the most boring people I've ever seen.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just insane. And when you get that level of cult of personality happening,
Yeah.
you start approaching
that's
North
scary.
Korea.
I mean, you would have Boris Johnson on your wall.
Look
It
at
makes
that.
No
by,
sense.
by the way, speaking of the cult of personality, look at those morons at the Henan Bank protest. You saw that. That was in your video, wasn't it? Did you put it
was,
in?
yeah.
These morons. So, okay, quick one here. We don't want to get into it, but we spoke about it last week. $6 billion worth of people's savings and investments went up in, well, we all know where they ended up, didn't they? They ended up being Canadian mansions being bought in Australian real estate, because that's what happens whenever these corrupt people steal money from the Chinese people, is they take it overseas.
Yeah.
Okay, they launder it through Canadian casinos or whatever they do. And that's why you in Vancouver and Toronto have to pay so much money for your housing, is because of these corrupt guys getting their money out and using your country as a way to get their money out of China.
That's right.
Just so you know, it's not just like nice Chinese families that come over there and want to settle down and buy a house. No, it's usually the corrupt officials channeling their money out. Okay, that's what's driven your real estate market up, whether you like it or not. So anyway, they stole all this money. Everybody goes there to protest.
Yeah.
First of all, they get shut down. Their health codes get turned red, so they can't travel. They can't even leave their bloody house to get there to protest. About 1,500 of these guys managed to get out.
That's right.
And protest. They hold up banners. And one group of people are holding up pictures of Mao Zedong saying, if Mao Zedong was here, we wouldn't have lost our savings.
Correct. Isn't that insane?
What's wrong with these people?
I mean, they don't understand that is the very reason this is happening.
Yeah.
Is that system.
Yeah, it is. Mao Zedong, if Mao Zedong was there, he'd kill you.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be able to own your freaking box in the sky.
You wouldn't be able to have an investment there. He'd take all your money.
Yes.
If Mao Zedong was there and you were trying
You'd
to
be
protest, he would kill you.
Yes.
But this cult of personality thing is so crazy in China that they somehow believe that this deity Mao, if he was in power, the Henan Bank officials wouldn't have stolen their money. It's bizarre.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, Henan's a hyper-nationalist place anyway.
Yeah, but
I mean,
still.
I had this some of the nicest people. I had this one student in university from Henan, and he was so much more. He was like the class leader. He was there to report on me, basically.
Yeah.
In case I said anything anti-government or whatever. But he was so nice and respectful to me. He was very good and stuff, but he was so freaking nationalistic and would refuse to acknowledge the fact that he didn't even speak English. It wasn't an English class. He would only speak to me in Chinese, and he would refuse, despite me being able to speak Chinese to him, refuse to understand that me and him are not human beings, basically. Right. He is from Henan, he is Chinese, and I am a foreigner, and I simply just wouldn't, I can't use chopsticks.
Yeah.
I can't, I even though we're speaking Chinese, of course, I don't understand it to its full extent, right?
Yes.
I just couldn't possibly comprehend China even though we're speaking fluent Chinese to each other.
I really hate that whole
Yeah.
mentality.
He wouldn't get past that block. You know what I mean? So
you come across that all the time.
yeah, no, for sure. But
Yeah.
it's very, very, very much found more north of Guangdong more often. Because my Cantonese students just didn't give a shit about anything. They're just apathetic about everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a different story.
What is that new thing, by the way, that's popping up with all stars and stuff? I'm seeing that on a couple of super chats. What is that?
Some sort of sticker or something you can put on there.
It's
Kinda
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it looks cool.
I don't know what that is, but like we got to look into this. It's got stars all over it.
Yeah.
So
maybe you can like dress up your super chat.
Maybe it's for members. I don't know what that is, but whatever that is, it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
EITR has it on their super chat.
And EITR said mass stabbings in China equal mass shootings in the US, which we covered.
Yeah.
Jack C, I saw a live group of IEs in Berkeley.
Yeah.
As well as the music was loud and obnoxious, but I almost wanted to join them. I would join them. That's hilarious that you saw Guangchang IEs in Berkeley.
Oh, dude, look, it's weird, but there's certain parts of China, like mainland China, that you cannot escape. Okay, because when Chinese families immigrate abroad, they bring the grandparents with them.
Sure.
So you will, the recycling thing, for instance.
Yes.
Like it's when you walk around in the cities in China, and it's weird. It's not poor people do this. It seems like it's just a hobby for the Ais. They will dig through the trash to find cans and stuff, which they recycle.
Yeah.
And I guess because they got nothing else to do, they're sitting at home. So it gives them a sense of purpose. They're going out to earn money for the family or something.
Sure.
You get that in America too.
Yeah.
You'll see the Ais digging through the trash looking for the cans. And I'm like, what? Like
it's still
that
there.
They exported it.
Yeah.
You know, and the Guangchang Wu, of course.
That's hilarious.
If you see I really like to see them doing Tai Chi and stuff. I think that looks cool.
Yeah.
Right? Just like Tai Chi, and they'll get together and do Tai Chi groups. But that Guangchang Wu.
Oh, I'm more into the very, very loud tinny speaker blasting techno with Chinese lyrics over it while old women do a bunch of repetitive motions in the park.
No,
I'm more into that.
When it comes to that, that can stay in mainland China. I'll tolerate the digging in the trash thing and all that, whatever, because they got a purpose.
I think I'm nostalgic for it.
No, Guangchang Wu is like a menace, and Chinese people hate it.
Oh yeah.
Man, there's battles like those IEs. Of course you are, but these IEs will get together and they blast their music until late at night or early in the morning, and people are like, no, and they will try to combat them. And remember that one guy bought a military speaker, like it's like a military grade speaker that's supposed to like deafen your opponents or whatever. And he pointed it at them and blasted this and they didn't care. They
like,
just
dance through it.
Carried on. They just made their music louder too.
Yeah.
Oh man, like these Guangchang Wu, these IEs are such a menace to society in China.
Yeah, the Guangchang Wu IEs. And there's something awesome about it.
It's charming.
It's charming, and there's also something incredibly annoying.
But they have uniforms. They
they have gangs.
They gangs.
They actually say, no, this is my turf, and they get in fights.
Yeah.
I remember I told you, the one in my area, the Red Suns.
Yeah.
You don't get into the Red Suns if you're just a normal IE. You have to be prettier. You have to be more well-connected, have more guanxi, and they were kicking the asses of the other ladies there.
Yeah, I got a bunch of footage of this massive Guangchang Wu thing that I witnessed, and they were like these rival gangs. Dance battles. They've got uniforms. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Please don't export that. Please keep that.
It's kind of like, like the street racing gangs in Japan.
Yeah.
It's like that, but like old ladies by the thousands.
When I imagine like 80s America, what's that, Boogaloo or whatever, like the break into
electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, and you have these gangs and they get up and they're like, what you doing on the streets? You've been off the streets too long, and they like do dance moves and stuff, have these battles, and they're all like
such
hardcore.
A crazy movie. It was one of our friends, we were watching it, he actually got up and he goes, I can't handle this. Like, this is too crazy and colorful and weird. And he went up and threw up.
He threw up because he wanted. Anyway,
because this movie's making me sick.
That's what this whole IE thing is. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, yes. The name I refuse to say now.
Okay. Yes.
Says millennials in China will be the best generation for decades. I grew up reading British books, enjoying American music, and seeing Hollywood movies. Generations before and after us have no such luxury. 100% agree. Yeah. The people our age are absolutely the most global and forward-thinking people that do not fall into nationalism.
Yeah, so let's say Gen X and
my
early millennials.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone born post-90s, though, is lost cause in China, I believe.
Yeah, well, because it became hyper-nationalist.
Because of the brainwashing,
Yeah, it was getting better.
Yeah.
Rainbow Dancer 97, that scream is purely of trauma. I was talking about the kid.
Yeah.
And it's something you never unhear. This is proof that China is not a nice place.
Yeah.
At a certain extent, yeah. Tyler Jordan 33333. Thanks for the video about your brother.
Oh, okay.
My dad passed away 2 years ago and I never got over it, but watching your video helped a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Tend not to be very open about these things, so thank you very, very much for sharing this.
It is tough. That's the way we're conditioned, and it's tough to talk about. It was very tough. And like I said, during the video, I did it live, and I was not expecting it to hit me that hard. It was, it was a tough thing to do. But thank you for allowing me to do it. It really helped me. Yeah.
Koala 1203, thoughts on the current situation in Sri Lanka? How would the president's resignation after China's Belt and Road presence in the country? So, Sri Lanka's got its own issues apart from the Belt and Road, but I love that he resigned over email and then fled to Singapore.
Yeah.
Just sent an email. I was like, peace.
Yeah, no,
I'm
seriously.
out.
Yeah.
The debt trap that China's created there is not going well with the populace.
No.
And I hope that future leadership in Sri Lanka says, you know what? Let's probably not do that again.
Well, remember like how China built the Africa Union building, or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And then it was bugged.
Yes.
They built microphones into all the desks and the walls and stuff. Like, don't trust them.
Oh my
Don't
gosh.
trust this Belt and Road thing.
No.
They're like,
it's failing.
They're like, hey, Africa, we're going to build you this beautiful building
Yeah.
for like whatever. We'll have to find out what it was, but this African Union building, whatever it was. And they built it, but it was full of spy equipment to spy on what they were doing.
Soviets did the same thing, I believe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they snuck in microphones and stuff into the U.S. Embassy in Moscow.
Yeah, but that's different than...
No, it was in the building materials.
Right.
Like, put it in the building materials.
That makes sense.
I think the U.S. did the same thing.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Still, it's like, hey, we're going to build this lovely headquarters for you. By the way, we're going to spy on everything that happens inside. So, yeah,
It's crazy.
that should have been a warning sign.
A little bit. But yeah, Sri Lanka is headed for some rough times.
Yeah.
Doom and Bloom, CCP, at least one of the C's stands for cringe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
especially
correct.
with their propaganda that we covered the other day. It was so,
Oh, the NATO thing?
Yeah, I have like cringe flashbacks, like PTS cringe.
Yeah, well,
You gotta understand, China.
you just got to understand
Yeah,
China.
you do.
Yeah.
For sure. Case Closed 93. Just saw the new Top Gun and I loved it. Oh, we loved it too. It was fantastic.
But wasn't it, I'll be honest with you though, like, they just should have called it Star Wars 3 or Star Wars 10.
Like that, shoot it in the shaft.
Yeah, that was literally the ending of the first Star Wars movie is that,
I thought it was a joke. Like,
Yeah.
not the movie. I loved them. I love Top Gun. But I thought that part was a joke and they were just making like pop culture references to Star Wars. No.
It was interesting. What do you think the country that they were fighting against is supposed to be?
Oh, it's Iran. 100%.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I think the Iranian Air Force still has some F-14s.
Yeah, and also the whole landscape is modeled after that.
Yeah, I really did enjoy it.
It's awesome.
It was great fun.
For sure. Glad that Taiwan and Japan flags on Tom Cruise's jacket.
Yes.
The director lost money from China but took a stand. Yes, and it's awesome.
And it turned out to be a massive hit.
Huge win, and that's snowballing. Now no one's capitulating to China.
Yeah, it's great. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why, like, sully yourself and censor yourself and ruin your reputation,
People are making isn't she lovely?
Stop.
She built this city. And then somebody else said,
What?
and there she was from Talking Heads. And there she was. That's not Talking Heads, is it?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know Talking Heads? The 80s band?
I do know Talking Heads, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I know that
Every
song.
little thing she does is magic. Guys,
Yeah.
stop it. You're going to be caught up in
here she comes.
Yeah, there you go. She's
It's
a man.
eater. Yeah, let's
we can go
continue.
into all kinds of
He
stuff.
probably is like eating flesh. of humans.
Probably. Oh, it's almost a guarantee. We know he loves pork.
Yeah, that's his hobby is pork.
His hobby is pork. It's like on his Tinder profile.
Yeah, it's like
says pork.
interests pork.
And it's got a little swine emoji. Foria says, my question is how responsible is the CCP for the dire situation in Sri Lanka? Let's say 20% of it.
I mean, come on, yeah, that was their Belt and Road debt trap that
For sure.
caused it.
Yeah, but I mean Sri Lanka. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a powder keg.
Yeah,
you know.
true.
Well, let's say 30%. Let's
Yeah.
say 30%.
All right,
Keep up the good work telling the whole world about China. Thank you very much.
we will.
DJM, thank you very much. Koala 1203. I heard the news that a far-right French politician pinpointed Hideo Kojima to the assassination of Shinzo Abe. I saw that too. And Hideo Kojima is suing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
No, of course.
Yeah. Click all night. The U.S. press probably overhypes crime news on their own. If you live somewhere that open news isn't allowed, U.S. news must be terrifying.
Yes.
That's very true.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, everything that happens in America is so hyper covered that I remember growing up in South Africa, I'd hear about all the little shitty problems that America's
Sure.
facing, like small little things.
Yeah, like little petty things.
Yeah, petty stuff would be big news in South Africa. Why does that matter?
Sure.
And that's the thing. You start to really think like America's this ridiculously dangerous place. Meanwhile, South Africa is like the most dangerous country in the world.
Yeah.
But you start to think in your mind, oh, it's dangerous in New York City or something.
Sure.
Because of all the like, oh, crime and grime
Right,
and slime, all that.
Yeah.
And you're like, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's
Right.
not nearly that bad. It's overhyped.
Yeah.
It really is. But it has that weird effect.
It does. Of course it does. If that's all
Yeah.
you see.
Yeah.
Shaze says, can you smoke athletic greens? You cannot smoke athletic greens. The preferred method of imbibement is imbibement, to drink it.
Okay.
Doom and Bloom, Fruity Like You from Winston. It could be a song. David Lopan says, Wumao have been targeting Jordan Peterson lately. Wumao? Interesting.
They'll target
Yeah,
anyone
they'll go for anyone.
of any stature if they think that they can
Yeah,
cause
you're not
trouble.
safe from Wumao if you speak out
There's a
against China,
certain
though.
group of dedicated shills and tankies and Wumao that go after anyone who criticizes the Chinese government in any way, shape, or form
Yeah.
and try to ruin their reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
They try to do it to us all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if we were to, I don't know, have someone on our show, or if we're interviewed by someone, they immediately contact them.
Yeah, they do it
and
every
try to
time.
smear our reputations to say, like,
Using some
yeah,
Wumao words
yeah,
over
smear.
here.
You know, they'll be like, "Why did you have these guys on?
Yeah.
Don't you know that they're disgusting, racist,
Yeah,
this and
whatever,
that, blah blah
whatever the
blah,
flavor that we-
anti-China,
that they
this and that," and they try to like destroy the confidence of people who deal with us. Of
Yeah.
course, it doesn't work because people know we're straight up. We're
As
not.
the journalists
we're not.
take us seriously because
Yeah.
it turns out we're credible people.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there is a certain group of people that's their entire existence is to
Yeah.
go out and destroy the reputation of anyone who has anything critical to say about the Chinese government. So it doesn't surprise me that they'd go after bigger figures.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. TMD says waterfalls, Matt. Oh, good old fan. Rick George says, please like. Oh, yeah, please
yeah.
like our show. We never tell you guys to like. I don't know if it does anything, but like it up.
May as well.
It's free.
Yeah.
David Lopan, China's economy is also collapsing because CCP's support of Putin's war of aggression, undermining sanctions, and artificially keeping Russia afloat. 100% agree, David.
Yeah.
The CCP is essentially letting Putin drain the PRC dry. Hey, if it's a mutual parasitic loss, then go
Yeah.
for it, guys.
Yeah.
Maurice Stripmatter, markets have a funny way to smack you in the face.
Yeah.
Very true. Especially
Yeah.
when you bank on your citizens for the next however many years to keep pumping up the real estate economy
Yeah.
over and over again.
It's kind of just become a given. They
Yeah.
believe, hey, you know what? If we build it, they will come. And that's literally what they do. It's like, doesn't matter. If we don't have money now, we'll just do another sales thing. We'll get a loan, do a sales thing, and we'll get tons of money.
yes.
We don't have to ever live up to our promises. You know?
Yes. Nathan87, I'm sorry you got coronavirus. Get better.
Get better,
TMD,
man.
thank you very much. Carla, other than Chinese, are there any other nationalities invested in Chinese real estate?
It's actually very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, you can explain. Like, you
Yeah.
actually bought a house. Explain it.
You have to have a certain visa status, and if you don't, then you have to jump through a massive amount of hoops and like waiting lists and all this kind of stuff. But the vast majority of people like me would just have their wife put their name down, because why would you bother going through all of these hoops just to own something that could be potentially taken away from you based on your visa status?
Yeah.
So the average person, just if they want to invest in real estate, they'll have a family member do it for them.
This has turned out very badly for a lot of people, by the
Yeah,
way.
if you're not in a good relationship.
I know a lot of expats who they took their money, and because of the lucrative real estate market. Also, don't forget that if you are married in China, even if you're not married in China, if you marry a Chinese woman or man, I should say both, at some point, they'll probably try to pressure you to invest in a property in China.
Yeah, I mean, because it's so safe. Like, it's not malicious.
No, it's seen as a very good way to invest your money, and you'll get massive returns. So they pressure you for this.
Yeah.
So I've known a couple of old guys who went to China. Their Chinese wife convinced them to buy a house. They bring all their savings over. They transfer the money. They put down a huge deposit, or they, whatever, outright pay for it, or whatever the case.
Sure.
They invest a lot. They get this house, and then the relationship goes to shit because they bought this house fairly early on in the relationship.
Yeah.
And then when the cultural differences get too hard and the wife's like, I'm going to divorce you. And they're like, okay, well, what about my house? And they're like, well, you don't know your name's not on any of the paperwork. There's nothing they can do. They lose all their money and they get kicked out of the country and they get sued if they try anything.
Yep.
And in China, you can't win. So it's a very big lose-lose situation. And this has happened to a number of people I know. And it literally is because it's so difficult for a foreigner to buy real estate.
Yeah.
It really is
Yeah, it is.
freaking difficult.
Yeah.
And it's...
Go through a conduit usually.
Yeah, you have to go through a conduit. And it's like that with everything in China. Foreigners can't just go invest in the Chinese stock market. You can't. Foreigners can't just go open a business in China. You need to have like a Chinese partner.
Or a wholly foreign-owned enterprise,
which is
so hard.
still a huge ball ache and a bunch of nonsense. So remember, he had a massive disadvantage.
Yes.
Whereas the same doesn't apply for Chinese people abroad. And that's why they come and invest in your country.
Correct.
Which is good. I like the idea that people can buy a piece of land or whatever.
Yeah.
The biggest issue I have, like I stated earlier, in Canada and Australia and so on, is that so much of the real estate that's bought up there is not legitimate people buying.
Yeah, it's not like a dude, I need a house. It's fine.
not someone who's coming in there who wants to live there. And, it's like a bank for corrupt officials.
Yeah.
It's like literally just their assets are in real estate overseas.
Yeah.
And because there is so much money that has been stolen in China by corrupt officials and so on, they can literally go and buy up an entire neighborhood if they want.
That's
in your city, drive up the prices, and it's ill-gotten gains. And there are not enough protections in place to stop these kind of purchases happening.
Right.
So it ends up screwing over everyone.
Very true.
Yeah.
Sewer Turd says, hello, gents. If you don't mind me asking, what model of drone did you use to capture that footage?
Oh, that was a number of different ones.
Yeah.
One of the first clip I actually shot with the DJI Spark, which is a very low-end drone, but it was so much easier to fly.
Yeah.
The stuff in the middle, some was shot with your DJI Mavic, some was shot with my Phantom 4. I'll tell you one thing. Like, if you're going to get into drones and you want to just start, get the cheap ones,
the Air,
like the Mavic Air. That works just fine.
It's great.
Yeah, it's even now it's 2.7K.
I think it's 4K now.
Oh, maybe the new one, yeah. And you get used to it. You get to know how to fly it. If you crash it, it's not too bad. They cost like $400 or something new.
Yes, not bad.
Yeah, check it out.
Venus Supreme, hey guys, any chance you point us in the direction of the article where Chinese media refuted the rumors about a mysterious virus circulating in Wuhan?
Oh, yeah, I suppose we can.
Yeah, but just all over all of our videos.
Yeah, you can find it.
Yeah, we've covered that to death.
Yeah.
Maverick S, USA will save China very soon by lifting all of Trump's China ban. No. Rick George, patron for your Monday show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining, and we can't wait to have you. It's going to be a great one.
It's going to be a fun one.
I really can't stress enough that our food one was hilarious.
Sure.
But being in Australia, it's 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, so I can't watch it live. Oh, it's all right. I mean, it's still just as good to watch it afterwards.
Sure.
So it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Chris Fomby, my very first super chat, just to ask you to remind everyone that the Great Translation Movement is on Reddit now.
Oh,
as of
excellent.
a couple days ago. Thank you. That's congratulations to the Great Translation Movement.
Absolutely.
We support their work.
Brilliant. Definitely should check them out.
David Lopan says the United Nations already told China that the 9-dash line has no legitimacy under international law and it violates territorial sovereignty.
Yeah, but they don't care.
There's one thing that the UN did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't care, and they pressure all these companies to use it, apparently.
Yeah, no, they have to. Was it H&M or one of those companies? They released a map of China.
The Gap, yeah.
And it didn't have the 9-dash line, so they boycotted and they made them apologize and stuff.
The
It's
Gap.
ridiculous.
I don't even know if the Gap is in China.
Yeah.
TMD Hong Kong was given to the UK indefinitely. It was only the new territories that were leased from China for 99 years.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Womack, what % of the Shanghai gang has been purged. I don't know the percentage because it's not an official figure. All of these gangs and cliques and stuff are unofficial.
Sure.
Right? Technically. Marine Strip Matter, KMT number 1.
They were pretty bad too.
Yeah. David Lopan says CPP. Whatever.
Okay.
Lola Farley, the CCP allowed the violent videos of the Zhengzhou suppression to float around Weibo for an abnormally long time, including the callouts of Li Keqiang. Do you think this has to do with the Xi and Li beef? Now, that's an interesting comment,
I think
Lola Farley.
I honestly think it was there to discourage more people from
Yes.
trying to protest.
Very, very, absolutely, 100%. If anything is allowed to proliferate for any amount of time, it's by design.
Yeah,
Right. So if you
100%.
show the crackdown on that, people go, "Oh, those bastards up there," like those protesters, they're just bad, whatever. Like, look at, I won't do anything like that.
Yeah, and it's also like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't try to go
Maybe I
to the
shouldn't
protest.
try.
Because they hired the mafia thugs like they normally do, and they beat people up and dragged them off. It was awful.
The callouts of Li Keqiang 100% are by design. Again, they suppress any sort of bad talk against CCP officials. And if any of that was allowed to proliferate for any real amount of time, of course Xi Jinping wants that. Li Keqiang really does pose a lot of legitimacy concerns to Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
Because he said a lot of honest things, especially about poverty and poverty alleviation efforts, that Xi Jinping directly opposed. He says, no, that's already been taken care of.
Yeah, you can't
What are you
talk about
talking
that. Yeah.
about? So as the vice, basically, Li Keqiang is basically the vice president. He posed a lot of challenges to Xi Jinping. So I think it was by design.
Yeah.
Benji 2.0, thank you for the truth. Read Strip
Thank
Matter. Would it be fun to troll Cora a bit? You should absolutely go
Yeah,
troll
go for
Cora,
it. Go
please.
for it.
Acronus, a few lucky bucks for you and the Redneck Viper. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
差不多 needs a sound clip.
It
差不多
certainly does.
先生.
Yeah, there's a song called Mr. Chabador.
Yeah, it's from Taiwan. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Bozzy says, greetings from Hong Kong. Yesterday, they introduced a China-style health code system that will only affect a small amount of infected and inbound people. Nothing will go wrong, right?
Sure.
Hashtag free Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Frosty Flake. Try Dead Guy Ale. I've had it a million times. Newport Brewing. We'll send you a case. Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
You're fine.
thank you. We got
Appreciate
some.
it.
It's good.
I've had it
Yeah.
many times.
Thank you.
Darren D. For some good non-alcoholic brews, check out Athletic Brewing. Oh, interesting. Daniel Aguilar.
I think really? I feel like that's maybe a take on something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Athletic Brewing. We'll check it out. We'll find out.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, it's real.
not.
It's a real thing. Okay.
Craft
Cool.
non-alcoholic beer. Daniel Aguilar.
What's the point?
So you're saying it is a drug. You just want to get drunk.
That's the only reason to drink.
I didn't say I disagree.
I'm just saying, like, beer by itself doesn't actually taste good. Can I be honest with you?
I don't care.
I'm just saying, like, I like the taste of beer. I do, but that's because it's associated with getting drunk. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's kind of,
But you don't get drunk anymore.
no, not, I do still drink.
Yeah, but you don't get drunk.
No, I don't,
So
no, I
you're
don't
defeating
binge
your
like,
own purpose.
no. Okay, then I could say get a little tipsy.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But you know what really did work, and it was very bizarre, is when I went to Japan, I met with my friend Aikido-san, and we went to go sit down and have a drink. Like, we're driving around, he's taking us places, so he couldn't drink. We drink later, when we go to the izakaya later. So they have this alcohol-free beer that you can buy, like from Asahi.
Zero, whatever
Yeah,
it's
Zero. One of them is called Zero Life, by the way. Orion Zero Life. I'm not even kidding. It's like, it's kind
You
of
have no life.
it's pretty apt.
Yes.
But I remember we got the Asahi Zero, whatever it was, and you drink it, and I felt like I was getting drunk, but it's an illusion. It's a weird, your mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
Because it's got the taste, it's got
Sure.
the
Because you've been like
feel.
conditioned yourself.
Yeah, and you like start to feel as if you're kind of getting a little drunk, but it's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that exists.
Sure.
Anyway, just like the whole idea of non-alcoholic beer to me has always been a little weird.
I got you, yeah. Daniel Aguilar, thanks for what you guys do. Listen to every show.
Thank you.
I get a chance to. Who's Peter Balzac?
Oh, yeah, well, let's find him. I got to dig. Here I got number, there he is. Good old Peter Balzac, Peter Daszak, the guy who helped the CCP cover up the whole lab leak theory. That was his thing.
Yep.
He was like, nope, doesn't come
I
from
know,
a lab.
I've heard this a lot.
It's like, no,
I've
seriously.
heard this maybe
He was like,
hundreds of times.
maybe, but he literally said, if you think it comes from a lab, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
I'm going to write a paper about this and get other scientists to sign it so that if any legitimate scientist actually posed the question, you know what? This virus,
Potentially came
which
from a
was
lab.
being researched in that lab, and they were literally doing that spike protein stuff and working out gain of function on this virus in that lab where the outbreak broke out. If I think that it might come from that lab, I'm wrong.
Is it crazy when you say it out loud?
Yeah, it's like I'm wrong. It's
Yeah.
no, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, trust me, I was there at the beginning of the lab leak theory. In fact, I was one of the people that posed it.
Yeah.
And I was called a conspiracy theorist.
No shit. People went and made
Thanks,
videos about
Peter.
you.
Appreciate that. People, yeah, you've nearly ruined my life, Peter. I appreciate that.
Yes, good old ballsack. And then they get him to go to the lab to do the investigation.
It's just clown stuff.
And it's his lab.
Yeah.
Where he's been paying. Yeah. So he goes in there. He's like, no, there's no evidence.
Oh.
But it's his lab.
Highly unlikely. So
He's been funneling.
it's his own lab.
Yeah, he's been funneling the money from Fauci and all that
Yes.
gain of function
Makes me
money
sick to even talk about.
into that lab
David
to
Lopez,
research
It's
this.
not a theory.
Yeah, it's exactly, it's true. Okay, and now it's being, even the World Health Organization was saying it's likely.
Yeah.
And that pissed China off. But I mean, come on,
Peter's been
ballsack.
quiet since then.
Yeah.
Jay Leo says, in comparison to celebrating Shinzo Abe's death, Miami Cubans also celebrated Fidel Castro's death a few years ago. Jay, I don't agree that that's comparable at all.
No, I mean, he died naturally, right?
Oh, yeah. Also, yeah, he wasn't assassinated.
No, he wasn't
Number
killed.
two,
He was
he
oppressing them.
made people suffer.
Yeah.
Shinzo Abe was not a dictator.
No,
Understand?
No, he did not do what Castro did.
No. Tresham, 1. Is Stranger Things banned in China? All of Netflix is banned in China, my friend.
Yeah.
The latest season mentioned the Soviet-China border war, so that would upset China. Would it get banned if it wasn't? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely people pirate it, though.
Yeah, people watch it.
Yeah, for sure. They pirate it. You
But
just
it's
pirate
banned,
it.
yeah.
It would be banned, but
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be banned because Netflix is banned.
Yeah.
Paxmax says, "Oh, de Fauci, the musky scent of massive BS." Okay.
Oh, did I tell you about my friend at Netflix in China? I think it did.
Yeah,
you know what you can buy Netflix on Taobao, which it's banned in China, but it's this ridiculous thing. Okay, so you get like a 15-day or a 30-day trial to try Netflix, right?
Yeah, probably.
But-
probably.
Yeah, you do.
Nowadays, I'm saying. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you do. Like you get a free
Yeah,
trial,
yeah.
but it's not something you can just get. You need to put in your phone
Yeah.
number and your email address and
Probably
your
a credit
details.
card or something.
Yeah, something like that, right? So people don't abuse it because of that, because you
Yeah.
have to put all your personal details. But who does abuse it are Chinese Taobao sellers,
Yeah.
because they use like throwaway SIM cards or whatever. So they will sell you
That's right.
a 30-day trial of Netflix for like 15 RMB or something. Okay, like very small amount of money. They'll sell that to you. So my friend watches Netflix, and what he does is he buys these. Then they send you the login details. And that's how it works. So they're gaming the system, okay? They're making money off of free trials. And I guess they just use these burner phones, which they recycle or whatever the case may be, and like these details. But that's how he watches Netflix, is he buys these stupid free trials.
Right.
It runs out and he buys another one.
Right.
So
That's
it's ridiculous. They're scamming Netflix, first of all.
Buy it. Holy crap.
Well, it's difficult
How
when
poor is he?
He's not poor. It's just like, you know how it is to get a credit card in China. For a foreigner, it's impossible, basically. So he doesn't have a credit card, so he can't buy stuff like that.
Right.
So he just uses Taobao, which, links to your, whatever it is, Jüri, whatever the hell.
reason I say that is I know he's not in financial trouble.
No, he's got money.
That's my point.
Dude, you know what else he does buy from Taobao are games. Okay, but it's not like you think.
Oh God.
So there's like you'll buy like the latest game from Taobao, right? But it'll be at discount. So let's say a new game comes out, a new AAA game comes out. So like Final Fantasy Remake.
Yes.
So you buy it, but it only costs you like $5 or $10. But what it is stolen accounts. So you buy the game and then they send you the login details for somebody's Xbox Live account or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you log into the Xbox Live account and then you can play the game because it's someone purchased that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, someone bought that. Okay, obviously.
I get it. Like, games are expensive, and I get it. Like, if I was younger, I would be like pissed off at the price of games and stuff. But they'll go to those lengths.
Yes, and they've got these weird things where on your PlayStation or your Xbox, if you have somebody's login on there, you can log in and then download the game and then play it under your own profile as well. So it's like this whole thing, you buy these stolen accounts. It's just so immoral and crazy. But they will sell these things to you on Taobao.
Wow.
Yeah, just thought, same guy does the Netflix stuff, does these like stolen game accounts thing. It sucks, dude.
That's crazy.
I hate it a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Deanne Chapman, just some spending money. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deanne.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Invisible Pink Soylent. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Slothington, your talk of the Laoban made me feel it necessary to demand a Halloween episode. Goth, Laoban, Winston, and Triad Bling Sea Milk. I'm going to put that in our note.
That's
notes. Yeah,
you should.
Because we could totally do that.
Yes, we could. Be weird.
Goth, Laoban, Winston. Why would it be weird? It's Halloween. Don't be a weirdo.
No,
You're being weird by not.
I think
Halloween.
Halloween's weirdo stuff because I never celebrated it growing up. I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
I can appreciate it. I think it's cool. But yeah, it's weird for me.
Shaner the Gray says Yenmi Park has vanished completely. 7 months, not a word. I think she was on Twitter or something. I saw something posted there. Rainbow Dancer 97. Watch the video about your brother. I have so much respect for you.
Thank you.
It actually made me think about who I lost at 13 too. Miles would be proud.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Genuinely.
Koni Tsung, does China restrict the rest of the world from accessing their intranet?
Yes.
Yes. A lot of Chinese sites won't work for you.
Yeah, and that's because it's like all pirated stuff. Like, for instance, sites that you could just go freely get movies and music and watch them. If you try to access those sites from outside of China, it doesn't work because they know they don't want people seeing that stuff's all stolen, for instance. But many things like, when we go into Weibo or whatever, because we want to see articles that have been posted, a lot of the times it kicks you out. It's like that passport.weibo.com or Taobao. It's like, no, you need a Chinese ID.
You're not, and you're not in the Chinese IP.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's so unfair because there's not really any VPNs that give you a Chinese IP.
Yeah, you can get a Hong Kong
one.
Yeah.
That's how. Again, this is like this person. They said they have to use a VPN via Hong Kong, and then things start to work. That's true.
Yeah, that's what we do too. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Always on a Hong Kong VPN for that crap. Yun Ko, thank you very much. Linda Hunter, thank you very much. EITR. Yes, the blue star denotes members. Members have the stars. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
I like
awesome.
it.
Shaner the Gray. Maybe I'm wrong. Never mind. I don't know what you're talking about, Shaner. But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cracklin, a member, says, "Are you a fan of Dave Matthews?"
Why?
I don't know. There was such a craze for Dave. Do you know Dave Matthews?
It's a band, right?
Yeah. It was a huge 90s thing.
Yeah, I remember a friend who was into it. And
Crash into me, baby.
I don't even know.
Do you know what a Jarl is?
Yes, I do know what a Jarl is. Like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, and Creed. Can you take? Is that her?
So like when you're
got like cotton in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Her. And Dave Matthews, he did a bit of a Jarl all the time. There's always like some saxophones in the background. And,
I got you.
What was some Dave Matthews?
So are you a fan of him?
Place between.
I'm not very familiar personally.
3 out of 10.
Okay.
Fan. No, fan.
Fan.
I'm a level 3 out of 10 fan. Dave Matthews. I wouldn't put. Huge thing back then was put Dave Matthews Band's bumper stickers on your car, and I hate bumper stickers.
Yeah.
So that kind of pushed me off of Dave Matthews because I hate bumper stickers.
Yeah.
I actually think they should be banned.
Bumper stickers.
They're like the worst thing in the world. I don't want to know what you like. Does that make sense?
I think it's
don't ruin your car is the biggest thing.
Bumper stickers are usually offensive.
Yeah, that's problem.
It. They just usually are offensive.
Yes.
There's just no way around it. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, Dave Matthews is South African.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
That's probably why my friend liked it so much.
Yeah, he's like the pride of South Africa. I'm almost positive.
I thought that was Elon Musk.
I mean, oh yeah, now, yeah. I'm pretty sure Dave Matthews is South African.
Really? Maybe not.
Let me see.
I know he's like really...
Dave Matthews, but born in Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I grew up...
He's from your stomping grounds. Wow, he's 55. You really don't. You should know him because he's South African. He looks like that.
Okay. Yeah, no.
I see his face and I hear, hey.
I shy away from South African stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. It sounds like he's eating food through a sock. Sounds like he has a potato in his throat.
Yeah, okay, excellent.
Yeah. It was the 90s things, do Jarl.
Yeah.
Jarling. I actually blame Nirvana kind of started a mild Jarl.
Yeah, they did.
And everyone went Jarlin after that.
Yeah.
Jarlin all the way. It's such a bad vocal feature that just did not age.
Nirvana is such an edgelord thing in my school. And
Well, Nirvana was a good band.
Yeah.
And
but
they were
people are
huge pioneers.
If, you start listening to Nirvana, it's like Kurt Cobain killed himself because people like you started to listen to his music.
I love your stories about the cliques in South Africa are so juvenile and immature. It was like here, like when I was growing up, of course your taste in music had something to do with your style and who you were, but nobody's walking around making it their entire identity to the point where people are like fighting and arguing about it, like in South Africa. You told me a story. Tell everyone that story about somebody drives by. I love that story. Like,
which one?
Alternative.
With my cousin. Okay, this really pissed me off. I got this.
I love this.
I got this very born again Christian family on my mom's side. Right, they were like the worst when it comes to that stuff. Like everything's demonic, everything's the devil. That kind of weird stuff. So my older cousin was like now massive into alternative music.
Give us an example. People maybe young. I think young people will understand what that means.
I guess like Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
But he would be more.
Alanis Morissette.
But he was less sophisticated. He was just like anything that's not like electronic music was alternative to this guy.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of had long hair at the time.
So he loved electronic music.
No,
he was alternative.
Yeah, he loved alternative for this little period of time. So I went to go visit them.
Oh, a good example. Anything grunge like Nirvana.
Yeah, exactly. So alternative. So. At that time, raves were huge in South Africa, okay?
They're all the raves.
Like, definitely. Like, raves, but raves in South Africa were just lame. They were huge, though. The people set up big tents and people go get, like, do raves and dance around or whatever and take ecstasy and the usual stuff, drink a lot of water.
Too much.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember he had this little Opel Kadett car and we're driving and we went out. I don't know if you know what the hell we were doing, but we went out somewhere. We're driving back and there was a rave somewhere nearby. And these kids were walking on the side of the road, probably like 17, whatever, 18-year-old kids. So these kids walking on the side of the road. And they just got out of a rave. And so they were hitchhiking and he pulls up next to them and rolls down the window and he's like, "You guys need a ride?" And they're like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Rave sucks, alternative rules." And he drove burned off out of there in his front wheel drive. Yeah, it was so ridiculous. This 1.3 liter freaking... So anyway, next time, because they were in Cape Town, we were up in Johannesburg, so I didn't see them very often. So next time I was down in Cape Town, went to go visit the same cousins, and now he loved electronic music.
Always like that.
Now he was like this music speaks to me, and he's like listening to Mother Mix 3 or whatever with all this trashy Euro,
garbage
rave music, and I was like, "Oh, you sellout,"
It's always the people that are vehemently against something. Yeah. I remember I used to torture my friend. He was so against any sort of like female vocalist in metal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like something really, he just really hated that. He loved Slipknot and stuff like that.
Right.
I even think he listened to freaking ICP and stuff, like Juggalo stuff.
Yeah, Juggalo, gross.
But he would get in the car and I would always put in, he hated the band Nightwish.
Okay, yeah.
Nightwish?
I know
Yeah,
Nightwish,
from Finland.
Yeah.
It's got a female vocalist and they had this song called "I Wish I Had an Angel." I didn't even listen to them, but they were just happened to be on mixes that I had.
Sure.
And he hated it so much. He'd always take it out. He'd freak out. He's like, "I hate this crap. It's so bad," because it's kind of operatic.
Yeah, and
he's like, "Put in some Slipknot." Yeah, take it out. And I'd be like, "Don't touch the stereo."
Yeah.
So eventually, I would just start labeling things like Slipknot or whatever, and it was just, "I Wish I Had an Angel" from Nightwish 14 times on every CD. I spent hours doing this.
Yeah.
He's digging around, freaking out, and then a couple months later, he loved Nightwish. He just became a super fan.
Oh, okay.
And it's always the people that are so against something that end up becoming that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Funny. Anyway.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Robert Gilpin. Doing a virtual city walk in Wuhan while isolating at home due to COVID-19. Very bad. What are you doing? I like doing those city walks.
Yeah, you could do that in Baidu Maps or whatever, right? Yeah.
Darren D says, my Sharona from the neck.
Come on.
Walter Deadman, I'm outside and I just watched a duck fly. Tell your friend. Yeah, I will.
What?
Rick,
Okay.
my Chinese friend that she refuses to believe that ducks can fly.
Oh,
Remember
that's
ducks
right.
like
Yeah,
that?
that's true.
Yeah, they fly and they love flying. In fact, they fly more than most birds.
Yeah, they fly a lot.
They're a migratory bird.
Yeah, they fly, man.
Remember that movie they have about that? Remember that 90s movie? It's like around the same time as Twister or whatever. It's about those ducks that fly and the girl flies in the plane with them, teaches them
Oh,
how to fly.
I didn't watch that, but I know what you're
You know what
talking
I'm
about.
talking
Yeah.
right? It's a huge fad
Yeah.
movie.
Yep.
Yeah, you become what you hate.
Yeah,
Alchemist,
that's true.
correct. David Lopan, a lot of invasive species in the U.S. come from China. That's correct. I'm actually a pretty big eco activist for non-invasive species.
Okay.
I would suggest exporting chupacabras, but they'd probably be considered traditional medicine.
Yep.
I mean, you should see what they do with the aardvarks.
Yeah, well,
Wild.
pangolins.
Pangolins, yeah. Sorry, they look very similar, don't they?
Yeah.
Shooter Down Under, did you hear that the Babylon Bee was banned from TikTok? I did not. I don't follow that. I'm less following TikTok drama. I'm more on the deep end of like what China's doing with the data these days.
Yeah.
O'Connell 007, thank you. Read Strip Matter with some clown emojis.
Thank you.
Linda Hunter, how's life in the newish home? How are your family suggesting living there? Unable to visit home? It's good. Yeah. Thank you for the shamrock, by the way. Winston will stash that away in his Irish collectible drawer.
Yeah, it's right. Because, if I ever come across...
waiting for a
Well,
second.
not this
Oh!
one.
Is that me gold?
Oh, by the way, remember that fruits and
I'm
vegetables?
a leprechaun, me
Yeah.
dear.
Remember that fruits and vegetables thing? Sorry,
Yeah.
you play it again. Play it again. I ruined it.
Okay, that's okay. I'll go to this and then go to this. There we go. Oh, wait. One. Go back. Where did it go? I got to play this part again. I'll just refresh it.
Is that me gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
Here.
Okay, sorry. It gets me every
Yeah,
time.
yeah. What were you
We
saying?
can't even hear it.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
It doesn't matter because you
Oh.
don't...
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Something about Ireland.
Yeah. Leprechauns.
I don't know. I was going to say something. It was kind of important, I guess.
No, if you can't remember, it's not important. That's how it works. But it'll come back to you if it is.
Jason Grigorchuk, you sent a lot of emojis of I know pretty much every flag, but that is so small I can't even see it. So let me see. The French flag for Southern Territories.
Okay.
That's cool. If you're actually from there, that is freaking niche stuff.
Big
Deep cut.
niche. Yep.
Doc Slothington says, Yarling hurts my soul.
Yep.
Jeremy's broken.
It's enough of that.
Have a good weekend, you two. Why can't
Thank
you handle Yarling?
It's cringe for me. I think of Hootie and the Blowfish.
What's a good Hootie song? I used to love Hootie and the
That
Blowfish.
like dolphins make him cry or something.
That's live.
Oh, same thing.
No, that's also Yarling.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Jarl.
Is that
show.
like I only want to be with you? That's
I don't want to be with you. That's a Jarl.
like
No.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Imagine talking like that. Because that's what you have to think. Is like singing should be like a beautiful representation of your voice melodically.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
Like the way you speak.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone taking Yarling, removing it from songs, and just speaking? Well, today I worked to the,
no,
I went
thanks.
to the supermarket.
I can imagine like an old dude with a gray beard who's like
Sure.
sucking
He's like
on a pipe.
problem. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got a pipe in his mouth.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow, we've reached the end. Guys, thank you so much for joining us again for the China Show. It's been a lot of fun. It's always great to have you here, part of this important conversation. Hope you learned something today.
Yeah, and we'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, for those of you who join us on Monday for the Xiaoban Ho show, it'll be another fun one.
Worth
Looking
it.
forward to it. And my video will be released tomorrow morning.
Yeah, go check
Okay.
out mine if you haven't.
Yep. Can't wait to see you next time. And until then, you know the drill. Stay awesome. And I don't want to cut myself off, so I'm going to try the countdown once again, which seems to fail most of the time.
Does.